Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. Marvel, collecting Shinra Tensei at the beginning. Chapter 1: The incident caused by a bowl of ramen. From now on, let the world feel the pain. Shenluo Tianzheng. The orange-haired man suspended in midair immediately let out a low shout, and a dazzling light shone in the center of Wei village, like a giant falling into a calm lake. The buildings in Wei village were razed to the ground at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than half a minute, the huge Wei village had already become a ruined wall. How is this going? This is impossible. How could such a thing be done? This power is too strong. It's God, that's God. The villagers of Wei village, who survived by chance, pushed aside the stone debris covering their bodies, and were dumbfounded the moment they stood up. The village where I have lived for so many years has been razed to the ground. This is the first time many people have seen such powerful ninjutsu. The people who crawled out of the ruins saw this scene, and just stood up before collapsing to the ground again, their pupils gradually becoming dilated. Such a powerful attack is already very human. Pain destroyed not only a village, but also most people's confidence in the victory of this battle. Tiandao Pain, who was floating in mid-air, looked at Wei village, which was instantly razed to the ground by him, without any fluctuation on his stiff face. He lowered his head and scanned the land, his eyes suddenly froze. I saw that on this unobstructed land of Konoha village, a small building was particularly eye-catching, because all the buildings had been reduced to powder under the Shenluo Tianzheng he just had. At this time, only this small building stood upright on the ruins, intact. There are 4 large characters written on the curtain of the store door of this small building: Yul Ramen. Eating even ramen can't be peaceful, it's so annoying. Bonu's voice came from Yul Ramen's stall. The voice didn't sound loud, but it resounded strangely throughout Wei village. In front of him, Uncle Yul, the owner of the ramen shop, had to hide behind the ramen counter because of the shock wave just now, and he slowly poked his head out when he heard the angry voice. Looking at the young man sitting in front of him, a surprised expression appeared on Uncle Yul's face. He didn't feel any shock at all when the shock wave came just now, but the loud noise coming from his ear really showed that there was such a shock. One thing. Uncle Yul is just an ordinary person, not even a ninja. Naturally, it is impossible to be able to resist this level of shock. Then there is only one possibility. The one who just resisted the shock wave is the young man in front. Guest, are you all right? Uncle Yul's daughter, Miss Chang Pu, asked the young man. Han Yu looked at the dusty ramen in front of him, sighed softly, took out a few coins from his pocket, and arranged them on the table. A faint smile appeared on Junyi's face. Please cook me another bowl of ramen, I'll be right back. Before Uncle Yul and Miss Chang Pu could reply, Han Yu stood up and walked out. This system that kills thousands of knives, can't you send it to me earlier, so I can just eat ramen, right? Someone needs to disturb this. Han Yu said to himself. This time he went to Naruto World to do a mission. The first thing he did was not to think about how to complete the mission, but to find a ramen shop. This Uzumaki Naruto has eaten ramen for most of his life, and Han Yu was very curious about its taste, so he immediately found this shop. That's good. When he just came to this Naruto World, he encountered one of the major events in Konoha village, Liu Dao Pain's invasion of Konoha. He didn't even have to eat a bite of the hot noodles, and it fell to ashes as soon as he smelled it. How could he not be angry? His appearance attracted many people's attention. Han Yu didn't care about other people's gazes, and looked up at Tiandao Pain, who was facing the sun like a god, with a look of displeasure on his handsome face. As a super fanatic of movies, manga, and anime in his previous life, Han Yu had a lot of love for Naruto. Not only did Rokido Pain kill one of his favorite characters, Jiraiya, but he also destroyed the entire Konoha single-handedly. This is my youth. Could it be that you can destroy it just by destroying it? Turning his head to look, the familiar golden hedgehog head did not come back, and only Han Yu himself could stop it. Humph, if you dare to disturb my noodles, you will die. Han Yu, who was on the ground, suddenly disappeared in place. What a fast speed! I'm afraid this speed will not be weaker than that old fellow Minato and 4th Raikage. Seeing this scene, Tsunade, the 5th Hokage of Konoha village, exclaimed uncontrollably. The Minato and 4th Raikage in his mouth are the ninjas with the best moving speed in the ninja world, the 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato of Konoha village and the 4th Raikage Ai of Cloud Hidden village. Pain in the sky also noticed the disappearing Han Yu, and turned his head to look for his figure on the ground. At this moment, a teasing voice sounded behind him. How many floors does a bag of rice have to carry? Just as Pain was able to turn his head a little bit, he felt a huge impact from his back. In the sky, Pain turned into a meteor, fell from the sky, and fell fiercely into the ground, causing a second attack on the devastated Konoha village. Han Yu scratched his head in embarrassment. He didn't expect this. Fortunately, the damage range was not large, and it just sank a little into the ground. With his hands in his pockets, under the horrified eyes of everyone, Han Yu landed lightly on the ground, brushed off some dust on his body, and looked at the deep pit not far away. Can't get up. Around him, the dense cracks that split open like a spider web also showed how terrifying the power of Han Yu's punch just now was. Hey, 5th Hokage, let's make a deal? I'll help you deal with this guy, give me a few things. Han Yu didn't continue to attack, but turned his head and shouted to one place. Tsunade the 5th Hokage heard the other party shouting to him, and walked out of the waste rock. After keeping a safe distance from Han Yu, he looked at Han Yu in front of him. Han Yu's body was ordinary, and he didn't have any shocking feeling. Looking at his smiling face, there was a brisk feeling like a spring breeze. Standing there with such a person, it is absolutely impossible to imagine that it would be the person who just casually beat Pain who had just destroyed Mui village. Who are you? What do you want? Tsunade didn't let go of his vigilance, the little chakra left in his body gathered on his hands and feet, ready to attack and retreat at any time. The young man in front of him was really too weird. Incredibly powerful. It doesn't matter who I am, what matters is that I want you. The yin seal on the body and the technique of Bai Hao. Hiss. Everyone present took a deep breath. Can we speak without panting? Your pause will bring a different meaning. If there is no second half of the sentence, they really think that Han Yu has some strange ideas, although they also have this idea. What should I do? Should I promise him? Tsunade frowned, thinking deeply. The current situation made her choices very few. This Pain is obviously not something we can deal with, but this man can suppress him. It seems that it is indeed our best choice now. Naruto doesn't know when he will come back, but he actually wants my yin seal, and the technique of Bai Hao is not something that can be given to others casually. Tsunade wants to gather chakra and be ready to fight at any time, but just now in order to protect the villagers of Konoha village, she has already distributed chakra to her psychic beast slug. Now the only chakra left in her body can only make her reach one normal Jainin level. To fight against Han Yu, at least with her current strength, it is far from enough. Seeing Tsunade's face constantly changing, Han Yu was not in a hurry to ask for an answer. Instead, he hummed an unknown tune and waited comfortably for Tsunade's answer. Suddenly, Han Yu's leisurely eyes became sharp, and under Tsunade's somewhat puzzled gaze, a cold shout came from his mouth. I didn't seem to say that you can move. With a cold snort, Tiandao Pain, who was about to get up and give Han Yu a shudder, felt as if an invisible hill was pressing towards him. The surrounding land suddenly exploded, and Pain's body sank a lot to the ground again, unable to move. Tsunade opened her small mouth slightly, and there was no trace of horror on her face. She was no longer just surprised. Just a few words made Pain unable to move. Who is this man? Chapter 2 Wave by Wave. Tsunade's brain was running fast. What would happen if he agreed to Han Yu's deal, and the consequences of not agreeing? She didn't know what kind of person the latter was, and she didn't know what the consequences would be if she rejected her deal. Quick thinking made Tsunade's chest rise and fall, and even Han Yu couldn't help staying for a moment at that scene. After gritted his teeth, Tsunade asked Han Yu, what do you want Bai Hao's art for? Don't worry about it, Han Yu smiled and continued, as long as you get the price, I can also help you with the post-disaster reconstruction of Mui village. The topic of the two immediately turned to post-disaster reconstruction, and it seemed that Han Yu was very sure of defeating Pain. Tsunade stared at Han Yu without blinking, as if he wanted to see through the conspiracy behind his smile. But after staring at him for a long time, there was a faint smile on Han Yu's face from beginning to end. Even though Tsunade was staring at him, he was not afraid at all, and instead stared back. The two just stared at each other, and the scene was a little weird for a while. After all, Tsunade nodded. She could not think of any way to deal with Pain. She could only hope that Han Yu could really solve this matter. After getting Tsunade's consent, the smile on Han Yu's face became even brighter, and Pain in the pit regained his mobility and jumped out of the hole. I'll give you a chance to die in battle, you first, or me first. Han Yu smiled lightly, the calmness on his face made Tsunade unable to move his eyes away. Damn, This is obviously a little devil, why does he have a special temperament? Tsunade looked at Han Yu blankly. She had never seen this kind of fighting method. It seemed that she didn't use any chakra, but she had such a strong fighting power. How did she do it? Pain stared closely at the man in front of him, his hands quickly formed a seal, 5 streams of smoke exploded around him, and the other 5 Pain appeared beside him. Oh? Is this the 6 paths of Pen? It looks interesting. Han Yu didn't feel any panic because of the surge in the number of the other party. Instead, he looked at the 6 people curiously, like a curious baby. The hungry ghost said. Tiandao Pain's voice came out in a low voice, and a round-faced man standing beside him ran out. Hungry Ghost Road can absorb chakra and ninjutsu, no matter how strong your chakra is, you can't beat him. Tiandao Pain watched the hungry ghost Dao Pain rushing towards Han Yu with a gloomy expression. The coldness in his eyes seemed to regard the latter as a person destined to die without any emotion. It's a pity that he made a wrong bet. Hungry Ghost Do Pain's fighting style of absorbing chakra and ninjutsu is amazing, but at this time his opponent has no such thing as chakra at all. With a flash in Han Yu's eyes, the surrounding temperature instantly cooled down, and even covered the surrounding things with frost. After Tsunade reacted, he saw that Han Yu was already holding a snow-white long knife in his hand. It seemed that the sudden drop in temperature between heaven and earth was due to the appearance of this knife. This sword is Hiran Meru, the strongest Zanpakuto of the ice system, and you should feel honored to die under its sword. Han Yu, who held the Binglun pill, suddenly lost his relaxed aura, replaced by a suffocating majestic aura. That aura is not just the suppression of strength, but the suppression of the aura from the inside out. Tsunade was deeply fascinated by his aura, and asked involuntarily, "Who the hell are you?" Lifting the ice ball slowly, the corners of Han Yu's mouth slightly raised above the gleaming blade, the surrounding air seemed to freeze under the pressure of the ice ball, and the air was suffocating. With one slash, pale white saber energy pierced the sky, accompanied by Han Yu's chuckling words. "It's just a small grocery store owner passing by." The hungry ghost rushing towards Pain raised his hand to use his ability to absorb chakra and ninjutsu, trying to absorb Hiran Meru's slashing sword energy. But this sword energy was not transformed by chakra, so how could he absorb it? The saber air pierced through the hungry ghost Dao Pain, and his body was instantly frozen into an ice sculpture from the inside to the outside by the ultra-low temperature of the saber air. With a light knock, it turned into pieces of ice. Spike! How is it possible, so strong? Tsunade, who had doubts about Han Yu's ability before, had his red lips parted wide, unable to speak, staring blankly at Han Yu who was not far away. The moment he grasped the handle of the knife, the people around felt that Han Yu was the master of this world. "I thought it was an illusion, but I didn't expect to see it now, it seems to be true." "Why, are you tired just now, that's it?" Han Yu held the handle of the knife and swung it at will. Hiran Meru looked like an ordinary long knife in his hand, but seeing the scene just now, how could anyone think it was just an ordinary samurai sword? This guy is eccentric and not extraordinary. Don't underestimate the enemy, let's go together. The other 5 Pain glanced at each other, and rushed out at the same time. All kinds of dazzling ninjutsu appeared in their hands. A shadow clone technique changed Han Yu's enemies from 5 to more than 20. Name. Hey, that's it? It's not enough to get between your teeth. The sudden increase in the number of opponents did not make Han Yu panic in the slightest. Instead, he smiled and leaped out, waving the ultra-low temperature ice wheel ball and slashed at those pains. The pale white slash carried wisps of cold air, and everything it passed was covered with a thick layer of ice. The 6 pains instantly turned into ice sculptures under Han Yu's knife technique, but what followed was a sneer from one of them. "I admit that you are indeed a formidable guy, but it is your biggest mistake not to choose to continue to fight with long-distance sword slash. We, Pain, have a common vision. If you make a mistake this time, you won't be given the chance to do it again." That Pain sneered, and allowed Hiran Meru to cut his body, and was cut in half without accident. At this time, behind Han Yu, a figure flashed over, it was Shinra Dao Pain's body. "It's over. This is what will happen to you, Tuode, who fought against us Lu Dao Pain alone." Shinra Dao Pain punched out with a strong momentum. This fistful of strange power was enough to compare with Tsunade's state after he erupted. It wouldn't be too uncomfortable to bear this punch. While attacking, Shinra Dao Pain seemed to see a smile on Han Yu's face, and when his fist hit him, he actually disappeared. What a speed! I've never seen anyone with that speed. I have seen the 4th Hokage-sama fight, and his teleportation technique is also extremely fast, but it seems, the young man in front of him is even better. Not only Pain was surprised, but other Konoha ninjas watching the battle also had the same surprised expressions. According to their experience, this speed has only been seen on the 4th Hokage. Hey, look at this! A brisk shout made Shura Pain turn his head away, but what was oncoming was a continuously enlarged fist, which slammed into his face fiercely. The moment he was thrown out, there was a circle of ripples caused by the sonic boom in his head. Shura Pain already belonged to a robot, and under this hammer, his end was better than that of the previous hungry ghost Dao Pain, but he was just a pile of mechanical fragments. Second kill again. If it wasn't for Dao Pain's inability to make an ordinary human expression, then he should have cold sweat on his forehead by now. No ninjutsu was used, let alone chakra. Dao Pain was sure that although the person in front of him didn't use these two things, he still had another kind of strange energy in him, which might far surpass chakra. It's your turn. A cold light flashed in Hanyu's eyes, and his body surged violently. Before he could blink, the blade of the ice wheel had already touched the neck of Dao Pain. As long as he exerted a little force, he would also turn into an ice sculpture and shatter into ice mist. Please wait a moment, we can give you whatever you need, even double the price. Dao Pain's tone was already a little flustered, he saw clearly the strength gap between himself and the opponent. No, it can't be called a gap anymore, it's a gap. Looking at Hanyu in front of him, who was looking at himself with a smile on his face at this time, Dao Pain rarely felt a trace of fear in his heart. This is simply not something we can handle. This idea came to Dao Pain's mind. They abused Konoha, and Hanyu came to abuse them again. Dao Pain couldn't figure out where Hanyu was. I have never heard of such a powerful young man in any ninja village. The terrified expressions on the faces of the Mue village ninjas watching the battle had turned into a dull expression, and they could not guess Hanyu's strength at all. As the 5th Hokage, Tsunade was not only the strongest person in the village, but also ranked in the top 3, but when he met Rokudo Pain, he was still seriously injured. Liu Dao Pain razed Mue village to the ground with one move, but now he was beaten up by a boy with a long knife and even killed 2 Pains instantly. Chapter 3 is a ruthless person. This kind of battle has never been seen before. Even ninjas who are not good at ninjutsu and specialize in physical jutsu will have chakra flowing on their bodies. Hanyu's fighting style is really the first time in history. Hearing Dao Pain's words, the attack in Hanyu's hand stopped instead, with a thoughtful look on his face. Seeing that Hanyu seemed to be persuaded by Dao Pain, Tsunade's expression became more serious, and the little chakra left on his body gathered frantically, ready to deal with Hanyu's betrayal at any time. After thinking for a moment, Hanyu looked at Dao Pain and said, "Then you give me the things, I want your Shenluo Tianzhang and the innate art of reincarnation of the heretics." This. Dao Pain was stunned. He originally thought that the other party would ask him for a lot of money. Even if it was ninjutsu, he had prepared several A-level and S-level ninjutsu. Unexpectedly, when Hanyu opened his mouth, it was Shenluo Tianzhang. And the innate art of reincarnation. Of these two kinds of ninjutsu, the former one is absolutely unique in terms of both lethality and defense. However, the natural art of reincarnation in the outside world is the transcendent ninjutsu that can revive people, which is not available to ordinary people. Why, you don't want to give it? Hanyu narrowed his eyes, and the threat in his words was very strong. His lips moved slightly, and a soft word that only Dao Pain could hear reached his ears, making Dao, who had always had a poker face Pain showed a shocked look. "Are you just a puppet? I know where your real body is. If you don't want to die so quickly, just give me the things." Hanyu raised his chin, compared directions, and then said, "He actually knows where my body is? How is it possible?" Nagato, who controls Pain far outside Konoha village, has a surprised look on his face. The other party actually knows that Pain is just a puppet? Where did the information come from? Dao Pain looked around, and the people around were still in a daze. It seemed that they didn't hear what Hanyu said. This way of speaking made Dao Pain's fear of Hanyu increase a lot. "Okay, just give it." As soon as the words fell, Dao Pain raised his hand to pick out his eye socket. Directly pulled out the reincarnation eye in his right eye socket, and used a chakra to protect it from harm. This action of taking the eyeballs made Hanyu gasp when he saw it, thinking, he is a ruthless person. Tiandao Pain took out another scroll and threw it to Han Yu together. Han Yu took the two items and smiled slightly. The items to be collected by the grocery store don't care whether they are the actual items or not. As long as this ability has been used by it, it can be included in the grocery store system as its medium. That's why Han Yu didn't go to Nagato. The ice wheel pill in his hand emitted a pale white ring visible to the naked eye, spreading out around Han Yu, and the nearest Tiandao Pain directly turned into an ice sculpture. The other 4 Pain also failed to escape the catastrophe, and were affected before they even had the thought of fleeing. Ding! The mission collecting special ninjutsu, Shenluo Tianzhang has been completed, pending settlement. Hearing the system's words in his mind, Han Yu nodded in satisfaction, and whispered to the heavenly Dao Pain who had become an ice sculpture. I'll take the things, but I won't take the life of your body, but I can't let this puppet go. After all, Han Yu lightly tapped on the ice sculpture of Tiandao Pain. Starting from him, several other ice sculptures of pain also burst together, turning into ice mist all over the sky. Things were moving so fast that the process took less than 10 minutes. All the villagers in Konoha village, including Tsunade, were like gooses with their necks strangled, trying to think of something to say, but they couldn't say anything. This resolute battle made Tsunade and his party feel that their hard-fought battle just now was a joke. This is impossible. Tsunade's pale lips parted, staring at the even thin figure in front of him, whispering. Han Yu's fighting style has completely refreshed the world view of everyone present. Even Hokage in the past has never seen that they can directly cover chakra on weapons and make weapons have attribute attacks. She looked carefully, and after confirming that Lu Dao Pain was really killed, her body softened uncontrollably, and she finally couldn't hold on anymore. The chakra consumed to protect the whole village could be said to be overdrawn. Without the protection of chakra, her original creamy skin shriveled at this moment. Tsunade is about 50 years old, and the reason why he can still maintain the skin and appearance of a girl is due to his S-rank ninjutsu, Yin Seal. This is also the premise of starting another S-level ninjutsu, Baihu's Hihutsu. When Tsunade fell down, an invisible air supported her, causing her to fall lightly to the ground, and Han Yu's figure instantly appeared beside her. Looking at this rapidly aging face, Han Yu couldn't help sighing that the S-level ninjutsu Yin Seal is powerful. If you get this thing and sell it, it will be more popular among women. It's a pity that only powerful ninjas can use it well. An Anbu jumped from all around, saw Han Yu holding Tsunade in his arms, suppressed his doubts about his identity, and turned to look at Tsunade. How is Hokage-sama? Medical class, I'm going to let the medical class come over now. The ninja in Anbu was about to call the medical ninja, but Han Yu waved his hand, squatted down and helped Tsunade up. Looking at her like this, her physical strength and chakra are greatly overdrawn. The conventional treatment method is estimated to take a long time. Let me do it. You? What are you going to do? Anbu Ninja stopped where he was. The reason why he didn't call the medical team right away was because Han Yu's performance just now was too amazing, and he subconsciously obeyed Han Yu's words. Seeing Han Yu free one palm, pinching his index finger and thumb slightly, a golden broad bean appeared between his two fingers. As soon as this broad bean came out, there was a strange fragrance, and those around who smelled the slightest fragrance were quite surprised. Because after inhaling the aroma of the golden broad beans, the injuries inside and outside their bodies are recovering with an obvious trend. This is a good thing. I have re-refined this fairy bean. It can not only restore the injury, but also beautify the skin. After eating this fairy bean, I am bedridden now, and I will get up and play disco later. Han Yu chuckled, and regardless of the Anbu ninjas who were looking at each other, he gently opened Tsunade's pale mouth and stuffed the sento in it. The entrance of the fairy bean turned into a warm current and poured into Tsunade's internal organs, and her face quickly recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and her dry and pale lips instantly became rosy and elastic. Tsunade's eyelids trembled, and when he opened it, he saw a handsome smiling face, and he was in his arms right now. Ah, me, what happened to me just now? Tsunade broke free from Han Yu's arms in a bit of embarrassment, and stood up quickly, with a girlish rosy face. You fainted from lack of energy just now, but I gave you a magic bean, you can feel it yourself. How is your body now? Only then did Tsunade discover that the chakra, which had been excessively consumed due to the battle, had actually returned to its full strength at this time. What shocked her even more was that she didn't use the S-level ninjutsu Yin Seal at this time, but she still looked like an 18-year-old girl. Could it be because of the fairy bean that Han Yu gave her earlier? Looking at Han Yu's handsome face with a faint smile, Tsunade's eyes were a little confused for a moment, she coughed twice, and said, "Where is Anbu?" As soon as the words fell, several people rushed out from the ruins. These people were wearing white masks of various animals. This is the Anbu of Konoha village, and Hokage is directly under the army. What is Tsunade-sama's order? When those Anbu saw Tsunade's face at this time, they all showed a look of surprise in their eyes. This is completely different from her usual yin seal. It seems that she is really 20 or 30 years younger. With a youthful appearance that can be called a child's face, coupled with a bloody figure, let alone a man, even a woman may not be able to stand it. Go and help the injured villagers evacuate immediately, carefully investigate Mue village, and count the number of casualties. Tsunade was at a loss in the face of Han Yu, but when facing these Anbi members, she resumed her fifth Hokage airs, and issued orders one after another in the blink of an eye. The Anbu members dispersed at the sound, flew towards the surroundings of Konoha village, and began to act according to Tsunade's order. You have helped us a lot, and Konoha will always remember this favor. Tsunade said seriously, I have to say that she looks decades younger. And she has an irresistible temperament in every frown and smile. Chapter 4 Konoha and Number 039, S Post-Disaster Reconstruction. Han Yu smiled and didn't reply to her. He kept swipe and pull his fingers in mid-air, as if he was looking for something. Tsunade poked his head curiously to look, but all he could see was Han Yu constantly scratching the air, nothing. Half a minute later, Han Yu's face brightened, and he grasped his right hand out of thin air, and a bright silver arm suit was placed on his forearm, like a launcher. Along with it was a small red scroll less than the size of a palm. Han Yu installed the scroll in the arm sleeve launcher, adjusted it, and it hit the ground. In an instant, countless white smoke exploded, the smoke dispersed, and a team of construction toolmen who looked like ninjas but covered their faces with black cloths appeared in front of the open space. What is this? Tsunade was a little surprised. This ninjutsu is obviously a shadow clone technique, but seeing how Han Yu activated it, why is it so strange? The post-disaster reconstruction was agreed upon. Your people have been injured so badly. It will take several years to rebuild Mue village. Han Yu patted a burly tool man beside him, and said with a smile, these people are used by me to rebuild Konoha for you. They won't be tired or hungry, don't need to rest, and they have infinite strength. Press their work efficiency should be able to reduce Konoha's reconstruction project a lot of time. Han Yu not only gave this construction team of up to 50 people, but also countless wood and stone materials, all of which were used for rebuilding Konoha. Looking at the tool men who have begun to clean up the ruins of Konoha, the efficiency is so fast that Tsunade feels at a loss for words. Each of the tool men has the ability to lift 7 or 8 times their own weight with one hand, which is already far away. Superhuman strength. It is hard to imagine what kind of war will be caused if such a person goes into war. This also made her more curious about Han Yu in front of her. The latter can be said to be full marks in terms of appearance and strength, and the majestic aura during the battle makes it clear that he is not just a simple little fresh meat. What are you using? Tsunade looked at Han Yu's arm curiously. This is a scientific ninjutsu. The ninjutsu is released through the sealed scroll. Even ninjas without chakra can release A-level ninjutsu. Han Yu recommended to Tsunade without any shame that this scientific ninja tool would be developed more than 10 years later in Naruto world. If Han Yu sells this thing to Tsunade, a new timeline will be created. A scientific ninja tool is the timeline brought in by Han Yu. Let's make a price. Tsunade said, not to mention mass production of this kind of thing, a small batch can form a not weak team. In the world of Naruto, there are many ninjas who have poor control of chakra or who have practiced ninjutsu for a long time. This scientific ninja tool can liberate them in the painful chakra practice. Although they are not good at practicing ninjutsu, they have very good combat minds. If they can devote themselves to actual combat, it will be extremely beneficial to the development of the country. Han Yu's brain turned rapidly, calculating the total value of these goods. Half a minute later, what he said made Tsunade's face darken. Well, the reconstruction project of Konoha. 1 fairy bean, 100 scientific ninja tools, and hundreds of seal scrolls engraved with ninjutsu and seal scrolls that can introduce ninjutsu, the total amount. Wipe a small change, 30 billion taels. 2 is the common currency unit of the Fire Nation. Usually, a C-level ninja mission is between 10,000 and 50,000, while the highest S-level mission can reach millions of taels. 30 billion taels is a huge number for a country. This kind of words, which were obviously opened by the lion, made Tsunade a little angry, but he couldn't say it. Mue village is the capital of the fire country. If it cannot be adjusted in time after suffering such heavy losses, and is invaded by other countries, the loss will not be as simple as 1.2 billion taels. Think slowly, I'll wait for you. Han Yu smiled, and walked towards the ramen shop. When he returned to the ramen shop, the ramen he just ordered was just out of the pot. The hot aroma made his index finger move, and he hurriedly ate it. Before he had a few mouthfuls of noodles, Tsunade lifted the curtain of the ramen shop and said to Han Yu, I agree. Hey, wise decision, everyone, hurry up and clear a piece of land to let the wounded rest. Han Yu snapped his fingers, and the tool men flew out immediately, with a light figure, but the speed of cleaning up the ruins was amazing. Some went to clear clearings, while others flew into the surrounding forests to log for wood to build houses. Oh, a wise choice, don't worry, the people I gave you will not only restore Mue village to its original state, but also allow its technology to advance for more than 10 years, and you will know when the time comes. Han Yu glanced back at Tsunade, and said vaguely while eating ramen, what's more, you should know the effect of my fairy bean better than me. This kind of fairy bean is in your world, even a big snake pills can't even be developed. Tsunade nodded, not surprised that Han Yu knew about Orochimaru, he is so strong, it doesn't seem to be a strange thing to know about Orochimaru. For a moment, Tsunade sighed softly, his voice suddenly choked with sobs, what's the use of me being alive alone, this disaster has caused at least 80% of the people in Konoha village, and they are all living lives. Out of the corner of her eye, she glanced at Tsunade beside her. Although she didn't make a sound, she could see hot tears streaming down her cheeks and dripping on the table. The two bosses of the ramen shop, Yul, were also in great grief, because if Han Yu hadn't appeared, the two of them would have died under Tiandao Pain's Shenluo Tianzheng. Forget it, just treat it as a gift for new customers. Han Yu murmured, patted Tsunade on the shoulder, then got up and walked out, you won't be charged for this. What are you doing? Tsunade sniffled and asked with a choked voice. Han Yu didn't answer, and after walking out of the ramen shop, he just said to himself. System, use upgrade points to exchange for time-limited items, heterogeneous reincarnation art. Consume upgrade points *3, and get the right to use the item heterogenetic reincarnation art once. The words sounded, and a lavender scroll appeared in front of Han Yu, floating in the air. This was the innate art of reincarnation of the heretics that he had snatched from Heavenly Dao Pain earlier. Hearing that it was necessary to upgrade at 3 points, Han Yu couldn't help but gasp. Is it so expensive for a one-time use? I really can't imagine how expensive the full amount of reincarnation natural art of heretics is. Let's bring back all the Konoha villagers who died under the Shenluo Tianzheng. Heteropathic reincarnation natural technique. Following Han Yu's low shout, the scroll in his hand exploded, turning into dots of light and flying into the air. Immediately, a huge figure appeared out of nowhere from the ground, it was Hades of the Naruto world. His mouth was wide open, and countless soul bodies flew out of his mouth and landed on the ground, turning into human beings. Those dead Konoha villagers were all resurrected at this time. Tsunade walked out with trembling lips, looking at those familiar cheeks, she couldn't believe it, she was resurrected. Not illusion? Well, I really don't know how to thank you. Tsunade stared at all this in a daze, not knowing what to say for a while. Pay the money, 30 billion silver taels and your 2 ninjutsu, you don't plan to renege on the debt, do you? Han Yu said with a smile, the price is also the same as before. Seeing the smile on Han Yu's face, Tsunade's emotion was hard to express in words, and he suddenly felt that the 30 billion taels was not a loss at all. Tsunade said, I'll ask Enbu to prepare the money right away. Konoha's treasury is not on the ground, so the preparation time is not long. After the silver taels were ready, members of Enbu came to report. Tsunade said while turning his head to ask Han Yu, the 30 billion silver taels are piled up in several big warehouses, how do you plan to get them? Hey? Where are people? As soon as he turned his head, Han Yu's figure had disappeared, leaving only a card in the place where he was sitting before. Tsunade stepped forward to pick up the card, and at the same time, several NB members came from a distance and said in a hurry, Master Hokage, all the silver in the warehouse has disappeared strangely. Hearing this, Tsunade was a little surprised, but his eyes were on the business card in his hand, and there were 2 lines written on it. There is a grocery store. Han Yu. Han Yu's chuckling voice suddenly sounded in Tsunade's mind, if necessary, inject chakra into the business card and come here. There is a grocery store. This guy is quite interesting. The corners of Tsunade's mouth were slightly raised, and on his fair face, there was a captivating smile. The NB member next to him was stunned for a moment. He had never felt that Tsunade was as good looking as he is today. It is a disaster for the country and the people. After rebuilding Wei village, let's go to his grocery store. Chapter 5 Item Extraction Card. The place where Han Yu appeared again was in a small grocery store on the streets of New York in Marvel World. The store is not big, but the internal equipment is very complete. This small store was acquired by Han Yu half a year ago. He was originally an ordinary Chinese from Earth, but he was an avid superhero fan and comic fan. The time he traveled here was when he finished watching Avengers 4. He went to bed that night, opened and closed his eyes, and came to this Marvel world where gods are born. And this grocery store was also bound to Han Yu as a golden finger. Originally, he thought that he would be able to reach the pinnacle of life and marry Bai Mei, but he never expected that the system would keep issuing him tasks one by one. And he would directly start the hard life of 996. When he came back, Han Yu immediately said, "System, settle the collection task, the keyword is Shenluo Tianzheng." The voice of the grocery store system rang in Han Yu's mind. The task settlement is completed, and the system has detected that there are additional items included: S-level ninjutsu heterogenetic reincarnation art, S-level ninjutsu Baihus Hihutsu, S-level ninjutsu Yin Seal. Get extra rewards, item extraction card *1. Han Yu said ecstatically, "You actually gave me an item extraction card. I got back 3 S-level ninjutsu for nothing." With a swipe of his right hand in the air, a floating light curtain visible only to Han Yu flashed out. This is his personal information in the system. Name, Han Yu. Grocery store level, Senior Clerk. Basic ability, Immortal Seal. Additional ability, none. Props, item extraction card X1. Arsenal, Ice Wheel Pill. Existing upgrade points, 20. Points required for upgrade, 50. Han Yu's fiery eyes stopped on the item extraction card, which was much more precious than Shenluo Tianzheng. It can extract things from the heavens and worlds, and this item is directly in the highest form, saving Han Yu the trouble of upgrading weapons. In the grocery store system, it is not only obtained through the channel of extra rewards, it can also be obtained by spending upgrade points. But that price is enough to be called a sky-high price. An item extraction card needs 100 upgrade points, so just grab it. Han Yu only got a few upgrade points after a exhausting mission. If he was asked to pay 100 at once, wouldn't that be the same as killing him? Tapping the item extraction card in the personal information column with his finger, Han Yu squeezed 2 fingers together, and a purple card with a gold border slowly appeared in his hand. I hope I can draw something good this time. My ice-type Zanpakuto Hiran Mara was drawn here. I hope I can get something good. Just as Han Yu was about to start drawing, he heard a crisp ringing from the wind chime hanging at the door of the grocery store. He had to stop the drawing first and put away the item drawing card. This wind chime can only be activated by people with certain identities from all heavens and myriad worlds. The stronger the strength, the faster and louder the wind chime shakes. Under normal circumstances, no matter how much it is blown by the wind, it will not move, as if it is broken. Immediately afterwards, the door was pushed open, and a figure appeared there. Seeing the visitor, a kind smile appeared on Han Yu's face, and he said, "Whitebeard, are you here to get some wine again?" "Haha, those who know me, Boss Han also, Mao Table, 300 altars. The person here is the Whitebeard from Pirate World." He laughed a few times, and the house trembled with his laughter. Outside the door that Whitebeard pushed open, what appeared was not the streets of New York, but an empty land. The heavens and worlds connected by the grocery store have corresponding locations in each world, and Whitebeard accidentally discovered this island and this small shop during a voyage. And he was surprised to find that the wine in this small shop was amazingly delicious. He had never drank such a strong wine in his life. Compared with this kind of wine, their wine was simply pale. So Whitebeard often comes here to buy wine, and every time he buys, there are hundreds of jars. If it is packaged in a normal wine bottle, the amount of this jar can probably hold 20 or 30 bottles. It's in the old place, and the price is the same as before. Han Yu smiled and said that although the world is different, it does not affect him to receive money, because the money received will be entered into the grocery store system, and it will be automatically exchanged for the currency of that world in whichever world it goes. Well, I'll ask someone to get it right away, the money is already outside the door. Whitebeard nodded, a tired look flashed across his face, he turned and left, and when he was about to step out the door, Han Yu stopped him. I see that your face is not right, what happened? Whitebeard turned to look at Han Yu, then shook his head, as if he didn't want to say anything. Han Yu said, you are also my regular customer. If you have anything to do, you can tell me, maybe I can help you. You are just an ordinary grocery store owner, how could I let you follow me to take risks? Looking into Han Yu's eyes, Whitebeard sighed softly, and said, I've bought so many wines here, it doesn't matter to tell you, it's Ace, he was captured by the Navy, and he will deliver it in a few days execution ground, I'm going to save him, this time I go, maybe I won't be able to come back. Han Yu froze for a moment. He had seen Ace in Whitebeard's mouth. He was a very smiling and polite young man who treated people very well. He bought wine a few times instead of Whitebeard, and got along well with Han Yu, who had a good impression of him. Their large group of pirates came to the grocery store to eat. After the meal, Ace would always take the initiative to help Han Yu collect and wash the dishes, so Han Yu's prices for them have always been very friendly. Seeing Han Yu stunned, Whitebeard smiled wryly, and didn't intend to say anything more. In his eyes, Han Yu is just the curator of a grocery store on an isolated island in the sea, and nothing can be changed by saying more. Ever since, Whitebeard left behind with a lonely back. Han Yu walked out of the grocery store and stepped on the ground of Pirate World. Only then did he realize that the money bags piled up on both sides of the grocery store were exaggerated to a height of 6 meters, completely exceeding the price he usually charged. System, put all these coins into the monetary system, let me see how many there are. Han Yu turned his head and said to the grocery store system. Start transforming. Transformation complete. Current currency unit, Marvel Universe, US dollars. Conversion amount, 300,000 US dollars. The muscles on Han Yu's face couldn't help trembling, and there were $300,000. The usual price for wine, the price of hundreds of altars, is only about 100,000, not too much more, and this amount of money is definitely not much for ordinary people. Because the world of One Piece does not have refined winemaking technology, Han Yu sells it more expensively, and Whitebeard doesn't care, and he gives it unambiguously, but he has never given so much. Go and see later. Han Yu murmured, such a good guest, he can't just let him go. A ray of invisible energy converged in Han Yu's palm, forming a transparent villain no bigger than a palm. This is a villain made of spiritual power. Go! Han Yu yelled softly, and the transparent villain galloped out. Catching up with the Whitebeard who was leaving, standing on the mast and watching everything. Whitebeard in the cabin suddenly felt a strange feeling in his heart, as if he was being watched, he stood up and looked around. What's the matter, Dad? Whitebeard's crew member asked. The strange feeling in his heart quickly disappeared, and Whitebeard shook his head slightly, abandoning the messy thoughts in his mind, and said. It's nothing, hurry up and save Ace. Han Yu, who watched all this in the tavern, nodded silently. This villain transformed into spiritual power can be used as his avatar to monitor everything. He also has a little combat power, so he is a good tracker. With the avatar of spiritual power staring at the Whitebeard, Han Yu can also do his own thing for the time being. He took out the item extraction card again and read. System, extract items. Slap the card forward, and the card will turn into strands of light, converging forward. The light gradually condensed and turned into a ring with a green glow. The whole body of the ring is made of an unknown silver metal. On the top of the ring, there is a green gemstone inlaid. Above the gemstone is a pattern composed of a circle and 2 horizontal lines. Han Yu spread out his palm, and the ring was automatically put on his finger as if with wisdom. Immediately afterwards, 2 green lights covered Han Yu's eyes, and a sentence sounded in his mind. Ring holder, please read the oath. Oath? What oath? Before Han Yu had time to ask a question, a paragraph appeared in his mind. With a movement of his mouth, he followed what was written on it and read it out. The day is bright and the night is vast. Demons and ghosts, there is nowhere to hide. The villains and traitors are afraid of my divine light. The green light is always bright, eternal light. The moment the voice ended, dazzling green lights emerged from the ring continuously, wrapping Hanyu in it, and it lasted for tens of seconds before slowly withdrawing it into the ring. At that moment, Hanyu felt that he had a spiritual connection with the ring, and if the ring left him, he would immediately notice it. Only then was he able to look at the ring carefully, and the sound of shock instantly resounded throughout the grocery store. WTF. It's actually a green light ring. Chapter 6. As an electric animation fanatic, he is no stranger to this ring. This ring does not come from the Marvel universe, but belongs to another superhero universe, the DC universe. The most iconic superheroes in the DC universe are Batman and Superman. And this ring is one of the artifacts in the DC universe. This is really blood money. Hanyu loves the green light ring in his hand very much. The reason why he likes this ring so much is not only because the green light ring is an artifact, but also because of its characteristics. The green light ring can materialize imaginary items and characters, and the upper limit depends entirely on the willpower of the holder. Coincidentally, Hanyu has the ability to reach the top level of mental power, the immortal seal. This is the basic ability bound by the system when Hanyu came here. Don't look at it literally as if it is awesome, in fact. It's really awesome. Immortality, although it does not achieve immortality in the true sense, it also allows Hanyu's body and spirit to reach an unprecedented height. And he can even directly use powerful spiritual power to attack. The aura that intimidated Liu Daopain before was due to his strong mental power. As for God's Seal, the famous Heavenly Father level god in the Marvel world, Thor's father, God King Odin is no stranger, right? The current Hanyu is a super god who is not weaker than the Heavenly Father. With a thought in Hanyu's mind, strands of green light emerged from the green light ring on his finger, transforming into multiple shapes in front of him. Monkey King, Pleasant Goat, Big Wolf, SpongeBob. The characters that Hanyu thought of were all perfectly realized, with no bad details. The delighted Hanyu suddenly frowned, and looked at the lantern ring in his hand. In his impression, there seemed to be something that matched the ring. Why didn't it appear? After looking through the personal information list for a while, and after confirming that there is really no such thing, even with Hanyu's heart, he couldn't help but say in horror. This ring does not have a lantern. Each light ring will have a matching lantern, which is used to recharge the green light ring, but now Hanyu only got one ring, but no lantern. This is not a time-limited weapon that can be exchanged with upgrade points, and it is impossible to use it up in one go. What does that mean? It means that the energy of this ring is likely to be endless. Hanyu let out a long and trembling breath, his eyes burst out with excitement, and he couldn't hold back the excitement in his heart. The energy of the green light can be shared. Since his green light ring has unlimited energy, he made tens of hundreds of green light rings through the characteristics of energy materialization, and the mother ring in Hanyu's hand controls the child ring. Finally enough to make an army. Green Lantern Corps. The light in Hanyu's eyes flashed. The Green Lantern Corps, in the DC superhero stories he knew, was also the super army that managed the entire universe. If he can be built in this technology-dependent Marvel universe, he can really walk sideways. The Green Lantern Corps is the real superpower core. I have to master the usage of this ring as soon as possible, it will be my strongest combat power. Hanyu pushed the door out and came to a door under the stairs on the second floor. It looked like a utility room for storing sundries. When he pushed the door in, the space inside was shockingly large. It looks like a small utility room of less than a few square meters from the outside, but it actually has hundreds of square meters inside. The different space opened up with 5 upgrade points is finally coming in handy. Looking at this space, Hanyu thought, the appearance of this space has become the same as that of a modern city, but with obvious boundaries. Hanyu's grocery store is not a simple house. Although it only has 3 floors from the outside, the number of floors depends on Hanyu. 10 upgrade points can add a floor, and each floor comes with 5 rooms, and the appearance of the rooms can also be changed through upgrade points. Like this space of hundreds of square meters, Hanyu set it up in the utility room under the stairs on the second floor, specially for him to practice his hands or try new items. Hanyu turned over his hand casually, and the energy of the green light gathered on the palm of his hand, forming a layer of emerald green palm prints. Raising his hand and clapping, the palm-sized emerald green palm print continued to grow in size as it flew out, and when it hit the target building, it had already become 20 to 30 meters long and wide. A building with a height of more than 10 floors, the place that was hit instantly turned into ashes and collapsed to the ground. It's too strong. As expected of an unlimited green light ring, I didn't even use 10% of my power, but I destroyed a building. It's even more lethal than Hiran Meru. Han Yu grinned. The Green Lantern in his impression almost always fights in the form of physical objects. But Han Yu was different. Born in China, he was very fond of novels such as martial arts and fairy tales, and the fancy martial arts and fighting skills that day made Han Yu like him very much when he was a teenager. So this also established Han Yu's fighting style. In addition to swords, other means of attack are to use these energies to fight in the form of fighting skills and martial arts. All night long, Han Yu practiced the green light ring in the utility room. Even the different space created by the system can only withstand 50% of Han Yu's power, and any more will cause this space to collapse. By the time Han Yu came out of the utility room, it was already noon the next day, and he stretched deeply. The all-night training made him feel like he could eat a cow. Han Yu squeezed his index finger and thumb, and a fairy bean appeared between the two fingers, and he threw it into his mouth. The hunger disappeared instantly, and he was full instantly. Although the hunger disappeared, Han Yu still planned to go back to sleep. For Han Yu, sleeping is one of the great things in life. Just when Han Yu was about to go back to his room to take a nap, he heard a crisp wind chime from downstairs. Have a guest. Han Yu tidied up and went downstairs. As soon as he walked downstairs, the door of the grocery store was pushed open. Looking at the familiar face of the visitor, Han Yu was still a little surprised. He had seen this person on TV a few days ago, and the latter had just taken away a villain's hideout. The one who came was the Iron Man of the Avengers, Tony Stark. Stark, who walked into the grocery store, saw that it was an ordinary grocery store, which seemed to be different from what he thought. Going to the door again, Stark looked at the plaque hanging on the door again, and also looked at the business card in his hand. After confirming that he had gone the right way, Stark walked towards Han Yu behind the counter. Hi, I'm looking for your store manager. While looking around, Stark walked towards Han Yu, seeing that there seemed to be no one else in the store, so he spoke to the latter. I am. Han Yu smiled and replied very naturally. He is used to this situation. When meeting him for the first time, no one would believe that he is the store manager. After all, his things are beyond the reach of ordinary people. If the other party thinks that he is a 100-year-old man, Han Yu thinks it is quite normal. You are. As expected, Stark showed a look of surprise, and looked at Han Yu again and again. He couldn't believe that such a young man was actually the manager of the store. Whatever you need, this grocery store has everything you need. Han Yu asked with a professional smirk. After looking at Han Yu for a long time, Stark sighed and laughed at himself. I'm so stupid to believe that this kind of place can solve my problem. Sighing lightly, Stark didn't want to say anything more to Han Yu, so he turned around and walked towards the door. He wanted to leave. Just when he was about to grab the doorknob, Han Yu's words made his palm freeze in mid-air. I know that you are afraid that what happened in New York will happen again, and I also know that you can't research the armor you are satisfied with now. What Han Yu said was an alien invasion that happened a few months ago. That attack told the people on Earth that they are not the only intelligent beings in this universe. Stark turned around abruptly and stared at Han Yu in horror, surprised that the other party knew what he was thinking. After the New York battle where aliens invaded, he fell into unprecedented anxiety. He is afraid that similar things will happen again, afraid that when it happens again, he will not be able to stop it, and then he will watch his beloved get hurt or even die. Chapter 7 Stark and Number 039, S Request. Don't look at Stark's usual heartless appearance, but in this regard, he takes it more seriously than anyone else, otherwise he wouldn't have stayed in the underground studio for several months and created many sets of battles. First. However, although these battle armors are powerful, they still stop within the Earth. In the face of space-level wars that will occur in the future, these battle armors are simply useless. That's why Stark is so anxious now. Then, is there anything you can do? Stark asked expectantly. The biggest problem he has encountered now is energy. At present, the easiest and most powerful energy source in the world is the nuclear reactor on Stark's chest, but even it is not enough to support Stark's idea of protecting the whole world. No matter how strong the energy is, space combat is simply impossible for the interior of the Earth, and only stronger energy can do it. Stark stared at Han Yu closely, trying to find some clues from his face, to see if he was talking nonsense. But on the latter's handsome face, the slightly squinted eyes and the slightly raised corners of the mouth made him look extremely relaxed and confident, and he didn't dodge Stark's gaze at all. Price? Tell me, how much do you need to sell your technology to me? 100 million US dollars? 1 billion US dollars? Tens of billions of dollars? Or hundreds of billions of dollars? As long as you say it, I can afford it. Seeing Han Yu's hesitation, Stark thought that the other party was considering the price, so he excitedly proposed a price he could accept. Han Yu didn't feel much surprise on his face when he was so excited that he couldn't help himself, but he thought it was normal. Han Yu rubbed his chin. What do you want? Money? He didn't need it. The 30 billion silver taels he got in Wei village earlier could be converted into the currency of any world through the grocery store system. After conversion, Han Yu now has nearly 300 million US dollars in assets in his account. Although the money is not very powerful on Earth, it can still meet Han Yu's daily needs. After all, he will not spend money like other sons and brothers every day. He intends to become a man standing on top of the heavens and the world. Naturally, it is impossible to indulge all day just because you have some money. What would you like to order? Han Yu couldn't make up his mind for a moment. Want Iron Man's armor? Nuclear reactor? For him who just got the green light ring, these things that can be called artifacts on Earth no longer have any attraction for him. When Han Yu was in distress, the voice of the grocery store suddenly sounded in his mind. The extra task is triggered, recruit a clerk. Han Yu was taken aback for a moment, a glint of excitement flashed in his eyes, and an extra task was actually triggered? The extra task is the task with the most generous rewards among the tasks released by the system. The advantage of extra tasks is that the task rewards obtained are uncertain. The higher the degree of completion, the rewards obtained can be very good, and the lower the degree of completion, the rewards obtained will naturally decrease. But Han Yu is a cheat player. As a time traveler, he knows the Marvel story behind him like the back of his hand. From the moment he saw this mission, he had a candidate in his mind. That is the super robot, Ultron. Nice. As soon as this task appeared in his mind, Han Yu made up his mind. Seeing him chuckle, he said, I don't want your money, so how about it, you help me make a game, I'll come up with the plan, and help me with the rest. I get it done. This request stunned Stark. What kind of request is this? Seriously speaking, the price of what he wants is not measurable, but Han Yu said that the price of this thing is just for him to help make a game? Thinking about it, an extremely irritable look instantly appeared on Stark's face, and the whole person's emotions were instantly ignited. 3 steps turned into 1 step, and he rushed directly in front of Han Yu, grabbed his collar and roared angrily. Are you fucking playing with me? I'm not in the mood to joke with you. Do you have anything at all? This sound was scary, and Stark's face turned red with impatience, and it could be seen that he was really anxious. Let go of your hand. No good or bad words came out of Han Yu's mouth. It seemed to be a sound from his mouth, but Stark felt that the sound came from all directions. An aura that didn't match Han Yu's age surged out of him, and Stark reflexively let go of his hand in fright. Stark swallowed hard, with a trace of fear in his eyes. He actually felt a kind of aura of dominance in this boy who was 10 or 20 years younger than himself. Han Yu straightened his clothes, his voice was smiling as always, but it didn't sound warm at all. Last chance, whether you want it or not, you decide for yourself, I won't force you. This is indeed Han Yu's idea. He is a time traveler after all, and he doesn't want to travel around in other worlds all day long. If he doesn't play some games from his previous life, his life will not be considered perfect. Han Yu can get the game plan from the previous life from the grocery store system, but to make the game, he needs the cooperation of the local game company. He believes that as long as the game can be produced, he will definitely become one of the richest people in the world once the game is released. After all, the game market is terrifyingly large, not to mention that in this world of ghosts and ghosts, a good game can effectively help the public adjust their mood. Stark looked at Han Yu's smiling face, and the other party didn't flinch even when facing him. This kind of aura is not like that of an ordinary person in his 20s. Okay, I promise you. Stark hesitated for a while, and chose to agree. He didn't think this condition was too harsh, but too simple, so simple that he couldn't believe it was just this requirement. That's easy. Seeing that the other party agreed, Han Yu opened his hand with several wisps of real green energy visible to the naked eye, emerging from his palm and slowly condensing. Even Tony Stark, who is the Avengers, widened his eyes. He has never seen anyone who can materialize energy and manipulate it so smoothly. Half a minute later, the green energy turned into a crystal clear green ring, similar to the green light ring on Han Yu's finger, floating in Han Yu's palm. Here's what you want, take it. Han Yu's 5 fingers spread out, and the ring floated over under his control. Stark quickly opened his hands and let the ring fall into his hands. This is... Stark was a little confused. Raising his hand is a method of condensing energy into a ring-shaped object. It can be said to be mysterious, and he dare not just take it away. This is the green light ring. How about the specifics? You will know the energy contained in it when you go back and study it yourself. Han Yu laughed. The green light ring is one of the artifacts of the DC universe. Even if it is a sub-ring, the energy contained in it will definitely surprise Stark. Stark held the green light ring tightly, and said to Han Yu seriously, if this is useful, if you have any requirements in the future, just tell me, you must do your best. Before leaving, he asked for Han Yu's mobile phone number and left a bank card, saying that there were $3 billion in the card, and Han Yu could use it at will. After finishing speaking, he immediately bid farewell to Han Yu and rushed to the Avengers building. He couldn't wait to study the beauty of this ring. Han Yu moved his palm, and the bank card flew into his hand, floating in the center of his palm supported by invisible spiritual force. Come on, Stark, it's up to you whether I can complete my mission. The other side. Stark ran all the way, and in just 10 minutes returned to the Avengers building, and immediately ran to the studio, and had already started to study the green ring he got from Han Yu. Jarvis, scan this ring in all directions, and compare it to the nuclear reactor I'm using now. Okay, sir. AI Jarvis replied. Stark stared closely at the screen in front of him, watching the continuous fusion of data in front of him, his face constantly changing. Sir, calculations show that the energy intensity of this ring exceeds that of your current nuclear reactor, and can even replace your current nuclear reactor. Complete replacement. Looking at the data displayed on the computer, Stark's eyes widened. He never thought that he could get his solution in a small grocery store. Unconsciously, Stark glanced at a white business card on the side. The content on it was very simple, only 2 lines. There is a grocery store. Han Yu. This business card suddenly appeared on Stark's desk. He would never bring something like this to the underground studio. He watched the video in the studio. This business card appeared on the table without warning. Chapter 8. A bald head emerges from the crowd. Stark subconsciously felt that maybe the owner of this business card would have a solution to his current problem. When he picked up the business card, the location of the grocery store appeared in his mind. Stark said, Jarvis, search for the name, Han Yu. Okay. Sir. Searching. Sir, no relevant information about Han Yu has been found. Hearing Jarvis's words, Stark's eyes narrowed. It can be said that his reconnaissance system is not inferior to SHIELD. Except for some multi-encrypted news, Stark has no interest in knowing it. It stands to reason that the identity information of an ordinary person should not be found. Jarvis, add an extra $50 billion to my bank card with card number 857. Stark didn't hesitate. He even felt that he had paid less than $3 billion before. It would not be too much to rent this thing to him for $3 billion a year. It must not be an ordinary person who can easily take out something of this level. This kind of thing, let alone tens of billions, cannot be bought for hundreds of billions. The reason why he still sent money was because he wanted to build a good relationship with Han Yu. If you can make friends with this kind of people, try to make friends with them as much as possible, and never offend them. Jarvis, we can start the Ultron project, help me contact Dr. Banner, let him come here now. Stark has been waiting for this day for a long time. If he wants to arm the Earth, a strong energy supply is essential. This green ring not only meets Stark's highest expectations, but even exceeds them. Okay, sir, I'm contacting Dr. Banner for you. Stark looked at the screen in front of him with piercing eyes. This ring may change the world. Half an hour later, a man hurriedly walked into Stark's studio, still panting for breath, probably running over. Tony, what's the matter, you came to me so urgently. This thin-looking man with glasses is Bruce Banner in the Avengers, who turns into a big green Hulk when he disagrees. Banner, come on, look at this. Stark stepped forward and grabbed Banner's wrist, and pulled him to the computer. If the latter hadn't known about Stark's sexual orientation, he might have thought that he had some strange ideas. This what is this? Banner first saw the instrument placed next to the computer to continuously detect the energy of the green ring in the center, and then saw the data displayed on the computer next to it. The energy intensity of this ring completely surpassed Stark's nuclear reactor. Stark didn't reply immediately, but looked at him seriously, and after seeing him feel hairy, he exhaled a long breath and said, "Banner, I think we can start the Ultron plan." Hearing this, the corners of Banner's mouth curled up and he smiled, but the smile was not excitement but disbelief and bitterness. "Ultron, I thought that was just a fantasy." After the Battle of New York, Stark told Banner that he would arm the world to deal with a possible alien invasion in the future, but S.H.I.E.L.D. and the United Nations did not agree to allow Stark to use steel to fight. A comprehensive protection. Perhaps it was because it violated their freedom, but it undoubtedly provided some protection. The protection of the steel armor was unsuccessful, so Stark moved to another field, artificial intelligence. Stark intends to create a highly intelligent super robot to protect the Earth, and he has named this robot Ultron. Yes, what was said before was indeed just a fantasy, but now, Banner is different now. Stark grabbed Banner's shoulder and shook it fiercely. Seeing the latter's weird expression, he realized that he was too excited. He coughed lightly to adjust his emotions, and then continued. "The energy of this ring fully and perfectly meets my needs. There is no better choice than this. Assuming we can harness this energy and apply it to my Iron Legion, then the world will be safe. Imagine, when you are basking in the sun in Hawaii, drinking cocktails, and when danger comes, your body doesn't have to turn green. With the super-intelligent Iron Legion around, do you still need to turn into Hulk? Do you still want to turn into Hulk? Hulk." Stark stared straight at Banner. He had said a lot, and in the end it was up to Banner's opinion. This matter could not be done by him alone. And his words were deeply rooted in Banner's heart. For him, Hulk was a disease. If it wasn't forced by the situation, Banner would never want to become Hulk for the rest of his life. When he recalled that he became an uncontrollable Hulk, smashed wildly, was hated and feared by the world, so that he had to hide in the shadow of the world, Banner felt very uncomfortable. Several thoughts flashed through his mind, and in the end, Banner gritted his teeth, looked up into Stark's eyes, and said, "When do we start?" "Start now." In the evening, Han Yu, who had studied the green light ring for a long time, walked out of the grocery store hungry. Dry rice, I'm starving to death." Han Yu clutched his stomach and planned to go out to have a big meal. Although he could cook by himself, but he was rich and traveled to another world, why bother to cook by himself? He must go to eat. As soon as the door was opened, 3 luxurious black cars drove up from a distance and stopped at the door of the grocery store. A man of unusually large stature got out of the car in the middle. The man's huge figure is eye-catching, and the more conspicuous hairless head is more obvious in this crowd. Some knowledgeable people were taken aback when they saw this man. They didn't dare to take another look, and left in a hurry, fearing that they would cause some trouble. Han Yu asked suspiciously, "Hey, Jin Bin? What are you doing here?" The bald man in front of him was none other than Jin Bin, the leader of the largest underworld in New York and even the United States, and one of Spider-Man's old enemies. His huge body looks like fat to outsiders, but in fact, 90% of his body weighing more than 400 Jin is muscle. Jin Bing's strength is enough to compete with some of the best in the field of strength. How this is derived from the physique, Han Yu also does not know. In fact, he didn't have much contact with Jin Bin. The reason why he knew him was because he saved his son Richard in a car accident. Later, it was found out that Jin Bin's opponents did it. Jin Bin wiped out those people in one fell swoop, and regarded Han Yu as a friend, and Jin Bin firmly remembered the grace of saving his son. Originally, Han Yu didn't want to ask him for something, but Jin didn't say that he must give something to Han Yu. In desperation, Han Yu planned to let him find someone for him, someone he needed. Jin waved the document in the brown paper bag in his hand, and said, "The person you are looking for has been found, are you free now?" Han Yu's eyes flickered slightly. Did he find someone so quickly? Han Yu said, "I'm going to eat, but since I have business to do, let's talk about business first." After getting into Jin Bing's car, he handed Han Yu the craft paper bag, which contained a document and a mobile phone. Wanda Maximoff, Pietro Maximoff. These two names seem strange, but when it comes to their nicknames, Marvel fans must know it. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And the person Han Yu was looking for was the Scarlet Witch among the two. This is a super character with cosmic chaos magic. Once she develops, she can even subvert the entire universe. Only Han Yu likes such a woman. Look at the video on that cell phone. The person you are looking for is in New York now. My people are already monitoring them, but they don't seem to be ordinary people. My people have seen the man among them. He with a superhuman speed, he escaped my subordinates several times. Listening to Jin Bin's words, Han Yu squinted his eyes, clicked on the phone, and a video appeared as soon as he opened it. In the video on the phone, a silver shadow flashed across a delivery boy's battery cart, and in the blink of an eye, the food on the battery cart disappeared. Obviously, among the two brothers and sisters, only brother Kuei Yin has this speed. It seems that he is very hungry, but they have all fallen to this level. In the current timeline, Ultron has not been developed yet, so the two of them should still be hidden, and Ultron must be found first. Chapter 9 Wanda and Quicksilver. Han Yu thought to himself, and suddenly felt that Yudao was staring at him all the time, and when he turned his head, he found that it was Jin staring at him. Thinking of what he said, Han Yu didn't intend to justify anything, and said directly, I'm very interested in that woman among them, is it possible that Mr. Jin Bing is planning to snatch it from me? Looking at Han Yu's indifferent smile, Jin Bing felt more and more that the boy in front of him was not extraordinary as he deepened his friendship. At that time, he had seen the surveillance video of the intersection, the day when Han Yu saved his son. Han Yu rescued Jin Bing's son who was on the traffic light zebra crossing from the road 100 meters away in an instant. In the eyes of ordinary people, it is just a gust of wind blowing by. What is the origin of this guy? He is definitely not a weak superpower. After getting Jin Bin's information, Han Yu bid farewell to Jin Bin, and went to look for Kuei Yin and Scarlet Witch at the address he gave. As night fell, a man and a woman were sitting on a tattered sofa at the bottom of a bridge under a certain bridge with cars passing by. Even if the clothes on her body were a little dirty, they couldn't hide the beauty of that woman. The combination of knee socks and short skirt made her big white legs stand out. She was the Scarlet Witch, Wanda. Beside Wanda, a silver-haired man handed her a piece of bread and said, Wanda, eat some. This is her brother, Quicksilver, Pietro. How long are we going to be like this? Wanda looked at the bread delivered by Kuei Yin, and found that it was moldy, so she buried her head in her legs, feeling listless. The past few days of fleeing made her physically and mentally exhausted, and she still couldn't eat normally, and she was so hungry that she never had a meal. Kuei Yin sighed, but he couldn't help it. Although their life was not very good before, at least they didn't have to worry about eating and drinking. Now the Avengers have destroyed their home, so they can only wander outside, otherwise they will be caught by the Avengers, and they may be locked up like before. Let's eat as much as possible. I will try to find a job in a few days. As long as we have a normal income, we can live a good life. Kuei Yin comforted. Wanda sighed softly, and was about to take the bread from Kuei Yin's hand, when she caught a few people walking towards them out of the corner of her eye. Looking up, there were 3 men in ragged clothes. It seemed that they should be from the slums nearby. Kuei Yin also noticed the 3 men, and when he saw them walking straight towards them, he had a dark feeling. He pulled Wanda up and was about to leave, but when he got up together, 2 men in ragged clothes walked up to them. Together. Don't rush away, I've been paying attention to you for many days, this is our territory, how do you sleep comfortably? Among the 3, a black man wearing a brown turban said. Kuei Yin didn't want to cause trouble, so he said, I'm sorry, we didn't know this was your territory, so let's just leave. The 2 Kuei Yin wanted to leave, but the other 4 stopped them and surrounded them in a circle. Did I say you can go? The black man in the turban came up, looked at Kuei Yin and Wanda for a while, and finally his eyes stayed on Wanda. Seeing such a beautiful woman here, a look of surprise flashed in the eyes of the black man in the turban, and he said, sleep here for a few days, should I pay some money? Kuei Yin stood in front of Wanda, and he noticed the way the other party looked at Wanda. He was a man, so Kuei Yin naturally knew exactly what was going on in the other party's mind. And this kind of place is close to a poor area, as long as it is not too serious, the police will not care about things like this. But Wanda was his sister, and he couldn't possibly hand over his sister in exchange for safety. Could it be that you need to use your ability? Kuei Yin clenched his fists tightly. He didn't use his superpowers much. He just stole a takeaway a few days ago, but he also attracted a group of unknown people to follow him. He didn't want to use it anymore, for fear of being targeted by someone and affecting Wanda's safety. Seeing that Kuei Yin didn't speak, the black man in the turban didn't bother to talk nonsense. He stepped forward and grabbed Wanda with his hand. With a flash of red light in Wanda's hand, Kuei Yin suppressed him and turned to look at him. The latter shook his head lightly, signaling not to use superpowers. Before the salty pig's hand could touch Wanda's body, there was a soft wind, and then, the black man in the turban screamed. In the center of his outstretched palm, a bloody hole half the length of a little finger appeared. "Let's go now, there's still time." Magnetic laughter came from behind them, and when they turned around, a young man with a bag of food in his hand stood there at some point, and was throwing pebbles in his hand with a smile on his face. To deal with this kind of people, it doesn't matter if you use your abilities, anyway, few people will believe what they say. The palm of the turbaned black man was pierced by Han Yu with a pebble. With the immortal mark, his physical strength has also reached the superhuman level. A stone thrown at any time can reach the shooting speed of a rifle. "What are you still doing in a daze? Hit me! Hit me to death!" the turbaned black man said in pain while covering his palms. The rest of the people looked at each other in blank dismay. After half a minute of hesitation, they all gritted their teeth, took out a switchblade from their pockets, shouted for their own morale and rushed towards Han Yu. "That's it." Han Yu smiled lightly, turning a few pebbles in his hands calmly, and looked at the guys who ran away calmly. The few people who had just taken less than 5 steps, suddenly screamed and fell to the ground, clutching their knees and screaming in pain. Wanda asked with some doubts, "What just happened?" From Wanda's point of view, they all fell suddenly while running without warning. Only a hint of surprise flashed in Kuei Yin's eyes, and he blurted out, "What a speed!" Among the people present, only Kuei Yin is a speed-type superpower, and his movement speed has reached the speed of sound. But even at this speed, when Han Yu shot, he could only see an afterimage. Han Yu stepped forward slowly, and said with a light smile, "Are you all right?" "It's okay, thank you just now." Han Yu's appearance and his gentle words are not something that a girl like Wanda who has never been in love can resist. His eyes are very clear, and the obscene eyes of other men on her, but Wanda didn't see it in Han Yu's eyes. Because of this, she was still a little uncomfortable, and turned her head away blushing. "And who are you?" Kuei Yin was more vigilant, pulled Wanda behind him, and looked at Han Yu warily. Seeing Kuei Yin's vigilance, Han Yu stopped coming forward, and after keeping a safe distance for him to feel at ease, he smiled and said, "It's just a small grocery store owner passing by." Kuei Yin was really worried, and after thanking Han Yu, he pulled Wanda and turned around to leave. Just when the two were about to lift their feet to leave, their stomachs rang at the same time. Han Yu chuckled lightly, and said, "If you don't mind, just go to my place for dinner. You won't be charged, just work for me for a few days." Kuei Yin and Wanda blushed. They were really hungry now. Han Yu's words broke their last stubbornness. On the way, Han Yu pretended to ask for their names, although he knew it a long time ago. With this short conversation, he also made Kuei Yin a lot less wary of him. Wanda is easy to talk to. She is a little girl, so she can't stand Han Yu, who has traveled from the developed entertainment network world. The scumbags in the Marvel world are far less powerful than Han Yu's previous world. In order to make them relax, Han Yu also took the initiative to explain that he has superpowers. Knowing that the other party is also a superpower, out of the mentality of compatriots, they have less and less resistance to Han Yu. As soon as he returned to the grocery store, Han Yu cooked 2 dishes, namely spicy chicken diced and mapo tofu. One end was taken out of the hall, and the tempting aroma overflowed the hall, causing their index fingers to twitch. "It's so numb. So spicy. But it's easy to eat." Kuei Yin was the one who was wary at the beginning, and now he is the one who cooks the most delicious rice. He picks up a spoon and pulls a spoonful of chicken into the bowl, and half the bowl of rice is eaten up in a hurry. "Haha, eat more if it tastes good. These are the meals in my hometown, and most people can't eat them." Han Yu ate while smiling, and he didn't even eat dinner, and the cooking speed seemed to be no weaker than that of Kuei Yin. Seeing the two of them turmoil, Wanda felt amused, but also a little relaxed. For some reason, coming to this small grocery store gave her an inexplicable sense of relaxation, as if she was coming home. Chapter 10 The Magical Conch. After a full meal, Han Yu was about to collect the bowl, but Kuei Yin snatched the bowl from his hand first, and said, "Leave the dishes to me, you go and rest first." Before Han Yu could say a word, he felt a flash in front of his eyes. In the blink of an eye, the dishes on the table disappeared and the table was wiped clean. With this speed, it's not bad to be a waiter. Han Yu chuckled and said, the two of you can sleep in the two rooms on the left on the second floor. Board and lodging are included, water and electricity are free, $5,000 a month, and I'm on the first room on the left on the third floor. You can come if you need something. Find me, can you accept it? Kuei Yin and Wanda were stunned for a while, and for a moment, they stared at Han Yu closely, trying to get a clue from his expression. After watching it for 5 or 6 minutes, Han Yu was stared at a little nervously, and couldn't help asking, why, too little? At this time, Kuei Yin quickly said, no, I just want to see if you are a liar. That's enough, we are very grateful to you. With a salary of $5,000 including board and lodging, free water and electricity, if the other party is not also a superpower, they would think it was a scam. The happy two immediately went to look at their rooms, and Han Yu also sent them their salaries in advance to buy some daily necessities. He can pack these things, but Han Yu is lazy and doesn't want to go. Give them money and let them go by themselves, and they will be happy. Late at night, Han Yu returned to his room, took a long breath, and said, System, settle the first task. Ding, complete the task, recruit 2 clerks from any world. Mission reward, upgrade point 30. I already have 50 upgrade points and meet the upgrade requirements. Do you want to upgrade? Hearing the sound in his head, Han Yu grinned uncontrollably. Why did he give Wanda such good treatment? That's because of this mission. Among the previous tasks issued to him by the system, apart from the previous task of collecting S-rank ninjutsu from Naruto world, the only remaining task is recruit 2 shop assistants. This task seems simple, but everyone who becomes a grocery store clerk is also bound to the system, and they cannot leave the system unless the store manager agrees. But now even Han Yu, the system owner, has not been upgraded to store manager. Therefore, the clerk that Han Yu wants to recruit must be free from worries, not be concerned about worldly affairs, and have not weak combat effectiveness. For Wanda and Kuei Yin, apart from each other, they really have nothing to do with the world. Wanda also has very powerful magic, which fits Han Yu's requirements. Although she hasn't activated her real ability yet, Han Yu will definitely help her in the future. Upgrade now. Han Yu's current level in the tavern is Advanced Small Clerk, and he can become a Junior Big Clerk when he upgrades to a level. Every time he upgrades to a big realm, he will bring him a basic ability. When he became a Junior Clerk for the first time, he obtained the basic ability of Immortal Seal, which is powerful enough to be called heaven-defying. I don't know what he can get the second time. The tavern system responded, and half a second later, the system's emotionless voice sounded in Han Yu's mind. The upgrade was successful. The current position is Junior Clerk. Get an upgrade reward. Several rays of light gathered on Han Yu's palm, forming a purple conch slightly larger than his palm. Haha, what I got is actually a prop. What is this? Magical conch, not bad, wait, what is this? Magic conch. Han Yu stared blankly at the purple shell in his hand. It wasn't a name-making prop. It was really a normal conch shell, the only difference being that it was a little thicker. I am amazed at your sister. Han Yu angrily threw the magical conch to the ground. Isn't this a prop in the cartoon SpongeBob SquarePants? Can this also be an upgrade reward? The conch shell hit the ground with a few crisp sounds, but it didn't break at all. Han Yu was about to cry. After so long, he worked so hard to upgrade, but he ended up with such a trash? In an online game, this means that the player uses the materials accumulated for a long time to build a weapon, and the result is that the original orange weapon is turned into the most basic white weapon. Who would not collapse? The magical conch has the ability to know all the knowledge of the past and present life. As long as the host's spiritual consciousness is injected, you can ask the conch a question in the form of an inquiry, and you can get the answer you want. It can be used in other worlds or in the main world. The voice of the system rang out in Han Yu's mind, and his speed of picking up the magical conch was as fast as lightning, and he picked it up before half of the eyes of a normal person blinked. This system likes to pant no matter how it talks. It's a good thing it didn't break if I didn't say it earlier. Han Yu carefully patted off the dust on the magical conch, and checked to see if anything was broken. Boom boom boom. There was a light knock on the door, and Han Yu took the conch back into the system for storage, and said, "The door is unlocked, please come in." The door was pushed open, and the person standing at the door was Wanda. I saw her wearing a white nightgown. After some freshening and washing, the breeze blew her hair slightly, bringing a faint fragrance. Her proud figure was vividly outlined by the thin nightgown. "What's the matter, is there something wrong?" Han Yu was indeed amazed by the appearance of Wanda in front of him, but he had seen strong winds and waves, and the amazement in his eyes flashed away, and he returned to normal. "Ah, it's nothing, I just want to thank you for taking us in." Wanda walked in slowly with her hands behind her back, her voice soft and pleasant. Smelling the fragrant wind, Han Yu didn't change his face, smiled and said, "How can this be called admission? You are working here, you work, I pay your wages, food and housing, you say I'm a good boss." Wanda walked up to Han Yu and looked at that young and handsome face. Even though she was dressed like this tonight, Han Yu's eyes were as clear as the moment they met for the first time. Wanda knew that all the sayings about working part-time were fake. Although she didn't know what Han Yu's purpose was, as far as she was concerned, she hadn't seen any malicious intentions from Han Yu. She simply helped them. She had never seen such a boy. Seeing that the other party kept staring at him without speaking, even with Han Yu's heart, he couldn't help but feel a little weird. He coughed lightly and said, "By the way, you are not proficient in your abilities, right? Let me help you develop them." Development, how to develop? Han Yu's topic turned abruptly, and Wanda noticed it, but she was not in a hurry to have something happen with Han Yu right now, so she followed his topic. "Hey, I just got a baby, try it and see if it works." Han Yu took out the magical conch he obtained during the previous upgrade, and asked Wanda in front of the magical conch, "How can Wanda master all her abilities?" As soon as the words fell, the magical conch suddenly burst into dazzling light, and the light continued to converge, turning into lines of words in midair. Aiming at the question of how can Wanda master all her abilities, the most useful method at present is to create a green lantern ring, establish a connection with Wanda's chaos magic, and rely on the willpower of the green lantern ring to suppress chaos, the instability of magic. Instructions for use: the instability of chaos magic will first be borne by the holder of the green lantern mother ring. If the holder cannot bear it, the backlash effect suffered by the holder will be transmitted back to the holder of the child ring in equal amounts. Wanda came to Han Yu and looked at the words displayed by the magical conch together with him. She sighed, "What is a green light ring? I don't have that. And what is chaos magic? I'm not a simple supernatural ring ability." Han Yu waved his hand, erased the words in mid-air, rubbed his chin and said, "Your superpower is called chaos magic. It is not an ordinary superpower, but a powerful enough to affect the universe and even the multiverse. Super powerful magic. My magic is so strong." Wanda was a little unbelievable. She had heard of the concept of multiverses. She said that besides the universe they are in now, there are other multiverses that are exactly the same as this universe. But now Wanda can only control some objects to fly around, or attack with energy, saying that she has the ability to affect the entire universe, and even the multiverse. She really can't believe it. Chapter 11 Feedback from the Mental Power Villain. "Wanda, I have the green light ring, and I can help you create a sub-ring to let you control your magic, but think about it, once you choose to do this, you will be far away from mortal life, and you will become a god." Han Yu said solemnly, in the memory of his previous life, the Scarlet Witch Wanda in the comics could not control her abilities at all. If it is uncontrollable, even a fleeting thought may have an irreversible impact on this universe. So if Wanda chooses to do this, and has the ability to change the universe, no matter how low-key she is, she cannot be immortal. Han Yu has the immortal seal, which allows his spiritual power to directly surpass that of Odin's level. As long as chaos magic doesn't try hard enough to stiff its neck with him, it's no problem to suppress it. Wanda hesitated for half a minute, finally nodded with a smile, and said softly, "I chose to awaken my ability, and, I think you let the two of us live here, it should be because of my ability. If you don't awaken, didn't it disappoint you?" Han Yu smiled awkwardly. He didn't expect that his thoughts had been seen through by the other party, and said, "Haha, this can only be regarded as one of the reasons. If you don't want to wake up, I will give you the same treatment. Don't force it, just don't force yourself." "I don't force it, I also want to be stronger. So that I can protect and help the people I care about." While saying this, Wanda glanced at Han Yu inadvertently, as if the person she was talking about included Han Yu. Han Yu smiled and nodded, the green light ring on his finger lit up green, wisps of green energy surged out and rushed towards Wanda's hand. Wanda quickly raised her hand, and the green energy was condensed into a ring on the middle finger of her right hand, which was similar to Han Yu's, but it was more transparent and looked better. Han Yu said, "You inject your magic into it, and I try to establish a spiritual connection." Wanda's other free hand emitted crimson energy, and under her control, it slowly moved towards the ring. At the moment when chaos magic came into contact with the green lantern ring, Han Yu felt a particularly strong repulsion. It seemed that chaos magic was very resistant to entering the green lantern ring. "Let me in." Han Yu snorted coldly. He was already in front of the ring, how could he let you run away? The green light ring suddenly burst into a burst of bright green light, swallowing the chaotic magic in front of it in an instant. Han Yu immediately manipulated it with his mind, and in the ring, the huge green light energy pressed towards chaos magic. Compared with the green light energy, chaos magic was like a humble kitten, shivering in the corner. The green light energy completely merged with the chaotic energy, and Wanda's green light ring changed from the original crystal green to crystal red. "This is the green light ring chaos form." Han Yu said, "Okay, feel it again, now you should feel more about the chaos magic in your body." "Hey, really, I feel a very clear force swimming in my body, and I can control it." Wanda immediately felt it, which was completely different from the previous feeling. If her manipulation of chaos magic was only in the infant stage, now she is entering a key high school. Seeing Wanda's happy look, Han Yu also smiled with satisfaction. She can control chaos magic, but she is also a great power for herself, so she said, "Okay, you go back to your room first, and rest early." Wanda nodded sharply, turned around and was about to go out when she suddenly thought of something and came back suddenly. He lightly pecked at the dazed Han Yu's face, then left the room with a smile on his face. After the door was completely closed and he heard Wanda's footsteps going downstairs, Han Yu's normal expression changed suddenly, and he half kneeled on the ground, beads of sweat slipped from his forehead. This chaotic magic is really strong. It is indeed a super magic that has an impact on the entire Marvel universe. It is still struggling. Han Yu looked at his green light ring, and could vaguely see a trace of red at the center gemstone. As previously stated, the instability of chaos magic will first be borne by the Green Lantern Mother ring holder. If the holder can't bear it, the backlash effect that the holder has suffered will be transmitted back to the owner of the child ring in equal amount. Han Yu now felt that chaos magic was like a mad lion, constantly bumping into the cage, trying to escape. Fortunately, this magic is just a barbarian now. If it is hidden and gradually becomes stronger, I may not be able to cure it in the future. Han Yu murmured, sitting cross-legged on the ground, using his spiritual power surpassing Odin, the Father of Heaven, and the energy of the green light, to move towards the chaos magic in the ring. Wanda has just obtained chaos magic not long ago. Although it is powerful, it can only be regarded as a newborn baby. No matter how powerful it is, it will cry a little louder. Han Yu spent half an hour making sure that the chaos magic was suppressed by himself without leaving any omissions, and then went to bed. At night, the green light ring on Han Yu's hand glowed red for a while, and he was about to break the ring to get out. The next moment, he was covered by a stronger green light, and gradually returned to normal. Early the next morning, Han Yu woke up yawning. After washing up, he was about to cook breakfast when he saw that the kitchen door had been opened, and a figure was busy inside. Han Yu took a closer look and found that the person inside was Wanda. Today's Wanda is wearing a white t-shirt and short jeans. Her slender and round legs are very eye-catching. She is cooking in an apron. Han Yu said, "Why don't you sleep more, and leave the cooking to me?" While fiddling with the things in her hands, Wanda said, "Good morning, I couldn't sleep and got up early, so I just came to cook. Please sit down for a while, and you'll be fine soon." Looking at Wanda's busy appearance, Han Yu felt touched in his heart. He has been in the Marvel world for so long, and he has always been alone. This feeling now makes Han Yu feel good, much better than being a domineering outsider. "I'm free, I'll help you too." Han Yu stepped forward and said that he also had experience in the kitchen, and before Wanda could speak, his movements followed her. Wanda looked at the man standing next to her, pursed her lips slightly, and a gentle smile appeared in her eyes. The two of them didn't speak, but they both cooked breakfast in a tacit understanding. It wasn't until breakfast was finished 10 minutes later that Han Yu and Wanda came out with breakfast talking and laughing, only to see Kuei Yan in the shape of a chicken coop slowly coming out of the room. Seeing Han Yu and Wanda coming out with breakfast together, Kuei Yin was a little surprised, you two so early. As long as you can sleep, pack up and have breakfast. Wanda rolled her eyes helplessly at her elder brother. She didn't know how to help others when she first arrived, so she just knew how to sleep. The breakfast was very harmonious, and the three of them also deepened their communication a lot. Han Yu and Wanda explained the peculiarity of their grocery store being able to travel through the heavens and worlds, and told them that if you get on your own thief ship, you won't be able to get off. Wanda and the others didn't care about this, especially Kuei Yin, who was most interested in hearing that this grocery store could travel to other worlds, and immediately sat beside Han Yu. Kuei Yin said excitedly, Han, you must take me there next time. I really want to see what the other world is like. Even Wanda moved closer to Han Yu and said, I want to go too, I want to go too. Looking at the curious faces of the two, Han Yu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. If there had been no war, the two of them would have entered high school or university by now. They would naturally be curious about something that young people can't resist. Yes, I will take you there if I have the chance. Han Yu smiled, and was about to tell them some interesting stories about the other world, when suddenly his expression changed and became much more serious. The villain of mental power who was placed on Whitebeard earlier gave him a message that Whitebeard was seriously injured and Ace was about to die. What's the matter, Han? Seeing his sudden change of expression, Wanda asked. After a moment of silence, Han Yu said, it seems that we don't have to wait for the next time, we can start now. Now? Yes, now, let's go. Chapter 12 It and number 039, S over. One Piece World, Navy Headquarters. Whitebeard pirates, King Shishibukai and countless navies filled this place with gunpowder and gunfire. Today is Fire Fist Ace's execution day. In order to save him, Whitebeard led all the members of the Whitebeard pirates to rescue Ace. The famous monkey D. Luffy also came here. For foster brother Ace. The Red Dog of the Navy looked at the crew of the Whitebeard pirates who were already in a panic, and ran away after saving Ace. He knew that if the other party tried his best to run away, he would definitely not be able to keep him. If he wanted to keep the other party, there was another way to get the other party to attack him. In a head-on confrontation, Fire Fist Ace must not be able to beat him, so Akainu said mockingly. Run after saving Ace, the Whitebeard pirates really gathered a group of cowards. But it's normal. After all, captains are just losers from the previous era. It's not surprising that the crew look like this. Loser. The running Fire Fist Ace stopped suddenly, the muscles on his cheeks twitched, flames rose from his body, his face was terribly gloomy, and he turned to look at Akainu, take back what you just said. The people around looked at this scene, and the crew of the Whitebeard pirates were very angry, but they couldn't do anything, because they couldn't beat Akainu, and Ace, who was now mortally wounded, couldn't beat him either. Seeing Ace stop, the smile on Akainu's face was even bigger, not only did not take back the previous words, but continued to add fuel to the fire. Taking it back? Haha, look at your father, Gold Roger, although it shouldn't be said, but I have to admit that he is very worthy of the identity of One Piece. Compared with him, Whitebeard is a completely, loser. Ace stared, and the flames on his body burned desperately. Someone slandered and insulted the person he respected the most in front of him. Ace couldn't bear it. Even if he knew he couldn't beat the opponent, he would go up. Red Dog. A punch carrying raging fire was thrown out, and Akainu's magma right arm was bombarded together, but Ace was mercilessly beaten into the air. Humph, good time, let me see who else can protect that Straw Hat Kid this time. After blasting Ace away with a punch, lava spewed out of Akainu's right arm again, but his target this time was not Ace, but Luffy. How could Luffy react to Akainu's sudden change of target? The figure of Akainu in his eyes was getting bigger and bigger, and suddenly, a smiling figure stood in front of him. Luffy blinked, and Ace, who was not far away, appeared in front of him, and his chest was pierced by Akainu's punch. Ace. All the pirates widened their eyes, looking at Ace who was pierced by Akainu's punch. Many of them felt that their hearts had been hit by a heavy hammer. Especially Ace's grandfather, Vice Admiral, Iron Fist Garp. Looking at Ace whose chest was pierced by the Red Dog, Garp subconsciously stepped forward. Walking towards the Red Dog step by step. The pupils of Admiral Fuji Sengoku next to him shrank suddenly, seeing that something was wrong with Garp, he rushed out, pressed his head hard on the ground, and shouted in his ear, Garp, are you crazy, what do you want to do? This force caused Garp's head to sink deeply into the ground, but Sengoku still felt a huge force constantly coming from Garp's head. It was a feeling of trying to control himself and keep thinking about it. That's right, that's it, hold me down hard, I'm afraid that if you let go, Akainu's life will be lost. Garp's head was shaking constantly, and the words he said almost gritted his teeth, and came out of his mouth word by word. The hatred and cruelty in his eyes were one of the few times he had seen in the Warring States period for so long. Hearing this, the strength in Sengoku's hands continued to increase, because he knew what Garp said was true, and if he let go, he would really step forward and kill Akainu without hesitation. The only person present who can suppress him is himself. Garp is a naval hero and the spiritual pillar of most of the navy. If Garp is allowed to attack Akainu, the belief of the navy will completely collapse at this moment. Oh my god, Ace's chest was pierced. This kind of injury can't be saved. I'm going up and killing Akainu. Idiot, come back quickly. If you can kill him early, don't go to die. The pirates of the Whitebeard Pirates were on the verge of madness because of Ace's death. Many people even planned to attack Akainu like Garp. If they were not tightly suppressed by the people around them, they would die too. Miserably. Luffy, who was closest and witnessed Ace's death with his own eyes, had already fallen into madness. The feeling of grief made him feel that his brain was about to split open, and the grief instantly swallowed his brain, causing his whole body to crash there. Tisk tisk tisk, this injury is really fatal. With the level of medical treatment in this world, this kind of injury will definitely not be cured. A light laughter came, and everyone's eyes widened suddenly. Next to Ace and Lu Fei, 3 figures appeared there at some unknown time. Han. Seeing the slightly familiar figure in the lead, a trace of surprise flashed in Baybeard's eyes. The person who appeared suddenly was actually the owner of the grocery store he often went to, Han Yu. Hey, is this the world of One Piece? It's very interesting. The body proportions of these people are so strange. As soon as he came to the world of One Piece, Kuei Yin standing next to Han Yu looked around curiously. Every time he crosses another world, the grocery store system will transform the appearance of Han Yu and the people that Han Yu is carrying into the painting style of the current world, but the body proportions will not change. So for Kuei Yin and Wanda, the proportions of people in One Piece world are still very strange, the body is tall and thin. Han Yu turned his head and said to Wanda beside him, Wanda, this kid seems to lose his mind from crying, help me bring his spirit back, it will damage his mind. Good. Wanda nodded, red light flickered on her slender fingers, stretched out her index finger, and a thin red light injected into Luffy's brain, and the latter's eyes, which had lost their spirit due to grief and pain, gradually recovered their light. Lu Fei wondered, what happened to me just now, you saved me. Wanda smiled and nodded. You, who are you, can you save Ace? Can you? Surely you can? I beg you to save Ace. Luffy, who was awake, didn't know who Wanda and the others were, but he woke himself up, and a thought came to Luffy's mind. Maybe they can save Ace. Don't worry, I'm here, it means Ace can't die. Han Yu stepped forward and patted Lu Fei on the shoulder, and smiled lightly. Immediately, a light flashed in his hand, and a golden fairy bean exuding a strange fragrance appeared in his hand. With a flick of his fingers, the fairy bean turned into a stream of light and flew towards Whitebeard. I want to treat Ace, and I don't want anyone to disturb me. Although Whitebeard still doesn't know why Han Yu is here, he will not be stupid enough to ask stupid questions such as why are you here and who are you? After taking the fairy bean, he swallowed it immediately. As soon as the fairy bean entered the mouth, it turned into a warm current, rushing all over the body, and a shocked expression gradually appeared on the Whitebeard's face. His injuries and physical strength are recovering rapidly. Humph, where did you come from, kid, you're babbling here, die for me. On Chiquan's arm, lava erupted again, condensed into armor on his arm, and smashed towards Han Yu with extremely terrifying heat. As for Han Yu, he stood still. At this moment, a icy cold light came from behind the red dog first. A slash without any fanfare cut through Akainu's body. He said that he doesn't want anyone to disturb him, don't you understand? Not to mention Akainu, even the Warring States Marshal who was not far away didn't react. Everyone stared blankly. The man who suddenly appeared between Akainu and Fire Fist Ace stunned everyone. The person who cut off the body of Akainu turned out to be the dying Whitebeard. This bean is amazing. My injuries have all recovered, and they are even stronger than before. Whitebeard clenched his fists, feeling the strength in his body. He had never felt so comfortable. He even wanted to shout out loud. "You, how is it possible? What did you do?" Akainu backed away several distances one after another, with an unbelievable expression on his face. Although his body was cut off, he could still recover by relying on the magma fruit. Others may only be able to see the surface, but as an opponent of the same level, Akainu can see Whitebeard's body, and it has completely recovered to its heyday. Even, there is a faint feeling beyond that time. Humph, the fight is over, why talk so much? Chapter 13 Wanda and Number 039, S debut. Whitebeard waved the supreme sharp knife Kong Yunki in his hand, and disappeared in the same place in an instant. What a speed! As soon as the magma on Akainu's body turned into a high-temperature lava armor, he felt a figure behind him that pierced his skin sorely, and the sharp blade swung down. Survival consciousness made Chiquan's body react faster than his consciousness, and he jumped away, but in less than a second of hesitation on his side, Whitebeard cut off an arm. "Father!" The crew members of the Whitebeard pirates yelled out in surprise. Although they didn't know what happened, Whitebeard's body suddenly returned to normal, and his speed was beyond the usual level. Even they hadn't seen Whitebeard with such swift attacks. "Akainu, I don't want to kill you, I just need to take my people." With Whitebeard as the center, a vibration force field is generated in the surrounding 3 miles. All the people in this vibrating aura felt like they could not breathe, as if they were being crushed by a huge boulder. "Stop daydreaming. You deserve it if you want to kill me." Akainu naturally wouldn't agree. Hot magma gushed out from all over his body, repairing the hand that was cut off earlier, covering his whole body, and becoming a fiery magma man. "Then there is only war." Whitebeard sneered coldly, and the surrounding space trembled with his sip, even showing slight signs of rupture. The battle between the two was extremely swift and fierce, especially Whitebeard, whose ability to shake the fruit was brought into full play. Every place the knife crossed, even the space had faint traces of cracks. What's going on here? He should have run out of oil lamps. How could he still have such power? No, we will lose if this continues. Sengoku saw that the two were fighting, and Akainu was actually at a disadvantage. A thought flashed in his mind, and he planned to step forward to help Akainu. As soon as he took a step, a white mist appeared between the two sides, and a simple white long knife with a scabbard was stuck on the ground, and a powerful and domineering aura gushed out from the knife. Before the blade came out, the sword realm was completed, and the fierce saber aura from the blade made people's faces hurt. What a powerful magic sword this is! Only people at the level of Sengoku, Garp, and Orizumi in the navy can withstand this momentum, and the rest of the navy can't move under this momentum. Tisk tisk tisk, let them settle it themselves, and you don't want to interfere. Hanyu smiled and said to Garp and Sengoku that the simple snow-white long knife is naturally Hiran Meru, which exudes an extremely cold breath and separates the place where Whitebeard and Red Dog fight. Some unbelieving navy soldiers wanted to go in, and just stepped into a thigh, and saw that thigh was freezing rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye, and a strong icy sting came from the thigh. The people around hurriedly stepped forward to check, and they were completely frozen from the inside to the outside. This leg was considered useless. "Shall we go?" Garp stood beside Sengoku, looked at the ice crystal barrier that could freeze people in an instant, with an extremely serious expression on his face. They are all sharp-eyed people. If they let those ordinary navies go, no matter how much they are, they will be nothing but cannon fodder. The problem lies with that young boy, let me try his details first. Warring States shouted in a low voice. Golden light burst out from his body, turning into a golden protective layer on his body, like gold plating. This is the Buddha form of the human fruit phantom beast species in the devil fruit. With a sharp sound piercing the air, Warring States disappeared in place. In the blink of an eye, the figure of Zhang Guo appeared not far in front of him, and the fist that shone with golden light smashed towards the latter without any fancy. The painful punching wind did not change Hanyu much. Instead, he saw the woman in red beside him raised her hands, and a scarlet light emerged from her palms, together with the strong fist of Zhang Guo. The two sides collided, and the loser was actually the Warring States period. He was sent flying upside down by Wanda's chaos magic, flying hundreds of meters away. Didn't he say that he doesn't want to be disturbed by others? Can I trouble you to cooperate? Wanda pulled her hair lightly, and smiled coquettishly. The smile she showed was very beautiful, and the smile was like a dream. If it wasn't for the wrong scene, some people even wanted to rush forward and propose directly. Warring States. With a flash, Garp the Iron Fist came behind Zhang Guo, and put all his strength on his body with his hands, so that Zhang Guo, who had smashed several 5 or 6 meter thick walls, was able to stop his flying body. This kind of power, how is it possible? Who is that woman? Iron Fist Garp said with an incredulous expression. He had just helped the Warring States unload his strength, and the power transmitted to him through the latter was not weaker than his own serious punch. And Wanda's pretty cheeks, as if the blow didn't take much effort from her. Whether it is the navy or the pirates around, they all have shocked faces, and the Warring States period is one of the peak combat powers among them. Being able to be beaten out of such a distance, and needing the help of Iron Fist Garp to stop, is enough to show Wanda's strength. Wanda, I'll help this guy heal, and you help me block their attacks. Pietro, you can also shoot, be careful, they are not weak. Han Yu pointed to Ace who had been pierced through his chest, and said to the Wanda brothers and sisters. Hey, don't worry, I will never let their attacks affect you. Kuei Yin chuckled, seeing his sister make a move just now. He couldn't wait a long time ago, and after getting Han Yu's consent to make a move, he ran away. On the battlefield of tens of thousands of people, someone from the navy wanted to shoot at Han Yu and the others, but before they could put their finger on the trigger, they suddenly missed it. Not only myself, but the guns in the hands of the partners around me are gone. What's going on? I have a gun. My knife is gone. Who took off my pants? Kuei Yin held a lot of weapons in his hand and threw them on the ground. There was indeed a pair of pants among them. Haha, the hands are too fast, don't mind. Kuei Yin smiled happily, but there was no apology in the smile. Looking at the happy Kuei Yin, Han Yu and Wanda glanced at each other, and they could see the helpless look in each other's eyes. Han Yu instructed, Wanda, be careful. Don't worry, no one can get close to you. Wanda just stood there, and not many people dared to attack casually. Her attack on the Warring States earlier shocked everyone. This guy is injured so badly. It's definitely not enough to take Xianda directly. It seems that I have to help. Han Yu checked Ace's injuries. His chest was completely pierced, and his internal organs were all burnt. No matter which world you are in, this kind of injury will be fatal. Fortunately, I refined this fairy bean again, and the injury can be recovered. Otherwise, Ace would really have to explain it here today. Han Yu took out a small bag, untied it and poured it out. A dozen or 20 fairy beans fell on his hand, and his other hand covered these fairy beans. With a little force, the small pile of fairy beans is turned into powder. Rise! Han Yu gave a soft drink, and the energy of the green light controlled the fairy bean powder, turning into a stream of green and floating towards the hole in Ace's chest. As soon as the green flow touched the wound, it immediately repaired the body tissue, and saw that the hole in Ace's chest was gradually recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Eat 1-2, to recover your strength and injuries. Han Yu used his mental strength to hand one to Liu Fei, and after the latter ate it, his spirit instantly rejuvenated. No one dared to attack Ace casually anymore, even if there were more women who could easily be suppressed in the Warring States period, they were just cannon fodder. Seeing Ace whose breath gradually returned to normal, Garp opened his mouth and said nothing. Only Sengoku who was closest to him saw Garp's subtle expression. He seemed relieved just now. Zhang Guo looked at Ace whose breath had returned to calm. He turned his head to look at Garp. The latter didn't say anything. After Zhang Guo sighed lightly, his tone turned sharp. The two of us go together, we can't let that guy save Ace so easily. After all, Warring States flew out first, and Renren fruited in the form of a giant Buddha of phantom beast species. At that moment, it was like a god descending, armed on him, and his height rose several meters, turning him into a little golden giant. Garp's figure paused for a moment, but the word justice behind him still forced him to take a step forward. Chapter 14. Marshal of the Warring States period and Lieutenant General Garp shot at the same time. Humph, it seems that those guys are unlikely to survive, these two are our trump cards. Marshal of the Warring States period, Lieutenant General Garp, kill. A, B, C, and D of the Navy shouted more vigorously, and Whitebeard also noticed the scene here. These two old guys actually shot at the same time. Seeing that Zhang Guo and Garp were going to attack at the same time, Whitebeard secretly felt bad. Even Whitebeard himself would not dare to say that he could resist the joint attack of the two of them. Just as he was about to get out of the battle to help Han Yu and the others, he saw the latter wave his hand at him. Well, opponents of Buddha's Warring States and Iron Fist Carp, at this level, are qualified to let you practice your hands. Wanda, go and play. The Sengoku of the Buddha in the shape of a giant Buddha and the Iron Fist Garp who is seriously punching, the oppression brought by the two is so strong that it is suffocating. In this sea, few people dare to take the joint attack of Sengoku and Garp. Unfortunately, their opponent is Wanda. Wanda didn't panic at all, and took out her hand in her pocket unhurriedly. At that moment, her eyes turned crimson, and as she clenched her hands, scarlet and violent chaotic energy erupted from her body. Form an extremely terrifying energy force field. In the area covered by the energy force field, most of them were stunned by the force field, and some were even so shaken that they spat out a mouthful of blood with unknown fragments. Only a few powerhouses are not intimidated by this energy force field by virtue of their own strength and the ability of the devil fruit. But this energy field is only aimed at the navy side. Those pirates all looked at the navy beside them blankly, as if they didn't know why. That beautiful woman did it. Everyone, don't let this chance go. Kill! Kill! The pirates noticed the clue, and were about to raise their knives to slash at the navy beside them, but just as the knives were raised, the blades bent. Wanda said with some displeasure, I'm here to help you leave. Not to help you kill people. Take you guys and leave quickly. This scene made Han Yu, who had been lowering his head to treat Ace, raise his mouth slightly. Fortunately, this girl has not lost her mind after getting chaos magic. If she gets lost, I have to seal the ability I activated myself. The reason why Han Yu brought Wanda here is because on the one hand, he brought them to see the other world, and on the other hand, he wanted to test Wanda to see if she could maintain her power with such a powerful force. A tender heart. It is not uncommon for many people to gradually lose control when they have great power. It seems that Han Yu no longer has to worry about it. What kind of ability is this? It's so strong. Even in the Warring States period, he had to admit that Wanda's abilities were beyond imagination. He was taken aback because Wanda in front of him disappeared. Distraction during battle can be fatal. A cold chuckle came from Zhang Guo's ear. Before he could turn his head, he caught a glimpse of a palm wrapped in red energy from the corner of his eyes, which continued to enlarge in his eyes. Warring States and Carp's year-round combat awareness also drove them to punch without reservation. Shake the fist with the palm. The three attacked and collided, with the three as the center. A shock wave visible to the naked eye continued to spread around. Where the shock wave touched, objects exploded and the ground shattered, and the people in front of them were swept up by the shock wave and turned into nothingness. Seeing the tragic situation in front, the people in the back all retreated again and again, but there were still some slower people who were sucked into the shock wave and turned into nothingness. This circle of shock waves has spread for as much as 500 meters, and no grass can grow anywhere it passes. This power, how is it possible? What happened to Martial Warring States? I don't know. The Navy looked at the center of the shock wave in disbelief, where the personnel of the two parties were separated by a long distance because of the impact of the battle just now. One person could be seen standing, and two people were half-kneeling on the ground. Standing is Wanda. But the half-kneeling ones were Sengoku and Carp. The joint attack of Carp and Sengoku actually failed? Not to mention the Navy, even the pirates watched this scene in disbelief. Sengoku and Garp are already two of the top naval fighters. Even if they are two people like this, they lost to Wanda? Wanda smiled lightly and withdrew her hand. She was protected by huge chaos magic. She didn't suffer any damage, but was knocked by the impact and slipped more than 10 meters away, leaving deep footprints on the ground. On the other hand, the situation of Buddha Warring States and Tekken Garp does not look good. The arms used by the two to attack had already shown an incredible degree of bending. According to normal people, they would have screamed in pain and even passed out. But the two of them were holding back until their faces turned red, and they didn't shout out. Who are you? Warring States blushed from holding back the pain, and asked with some difficulty. A powerful woman like Wanda can at least enter the Kaiwa Sea, and it is impossible to remain unknown in the sea. Wanda brushed the hair from her cheeks behind her ears, returned to Han Yu, and said softly, it's just a little woman working in a grocery store. Wanda, who was so strong a minute ago that he could beat the Warring States duo, now looks like Xiajiabiu. Whether it is a navy or a pirate, as long as he is a man, he will feel jealous when he sees it. Who wouldn't want such a powerful and beautiful woman? Come on, my treatment is over, I can go. After finishing speaking, Han Yu snapped his fingers, and countless green rays of light flew out of Han Yu's body and attached to the other members of the Whitebeard pirates. In the blink of an eye, the members of the Whitebeard pirates soared into the sky and disappeared into the sight of everyone. Hey, I haven't played enough. Don't. Kuei Yin, who was carried away by the energy of the green light, yelled at the ground, but unfortunately, when he said this, the energy of the green light took him to fly faster. What about others? Be careful. Be alert. The Marines shouted one after another, raising their knives and guns to guard their surroundings. Iron Fist Garp and Sengoku looked at each other and shook their heads. The latter said to the Navy, "Don't beware, his aura has completely disappeared here, and he really left." Garp murmured, "Who is this? I've never heard of such a person appearing on the sea." Seeing Han Yu leave, Whitebeard no longer loves to fight, and the ability of Zhen Zhen Fruit burst out, which caused a lot of damage to the Marines, and took the opportunity to dodge to Fire Fist Ace and take him away. The Navy watched all this helplessly, but could not stop it. Everyone was wondering who Han Yu was. They had never heard of this sudden man. Did she just say there's a grocery store? Which room is it? The Whitebeard pirates all returned to the ship, looking at their escaped partners. Everyone shouted in unison. "It's a miracle, what just happened? We were flying just now, it's amazing. Where is Boss Han, did he do this?" Even though they had just escaped from danger, these guys still shouted happily as usual, and some even kept scanning the deck, searching for Han Yu's figure. Seeing that everyone is still so energetic, I am relieved. There was a chuckle from the mast, and everyone looked up. Han Yu was standing on it, with Wanda and Kuei Yin standing beside him, looking at everyone on the deck with a smile on his face. As soon as he jumped down, Han Yu still wanted to talk. When he saw a group of old men rushing over, everyone was laughing, one after another. Although the action is rude, it can show the excitement and gratitude in their hearts at this time. No matter who Han Yu is, he can save them, save Ace, and save Whitebeard. This is the greatest kindness to their Whitebeard pirates. They will definitely be remembered for a lifetime. Hey, you guys come down to me, you're dead." Han Yu shouted in displeasure, but there was no sense of disgust in his tone, and it was more like a joke between friends. "Han, I really have to thank you today." Whitebeard walked up to Han Yu and said sincerely, "If there is something that can be of use to us in the future, feel free to mention it, and we will definitely do our best." Han Yu glanced around, everyone was smiling, and everyone agreed with Whitebeard's words. His help today won the trust of all the Whitebeard pirates. "You have to thank her first. Her name is Wanda. She helped me block the attack. Otherwise, I wouldn't have saved Ace so easily." After the group of pirates heard this, they wanted to treat Wanda like Han Yu. They just jumped up and didn't rush over, but they were slapped by Han Yu and fell limply onto the deck behind. When the other pirates saw this scene, they burst out laughing, and some even said, "You are stupid, you dare to pounce on me even though you are the proprietress, do you think you have lived too long?" When Wanda heard what they said, her face turned red, and she turned to look at Han Yu, only to find that the latter was also staring at her with a smile on her face. Her face turned even redder, and she ran away shyly. On the other hand, Kuei Yin, this rough guy didn't hear what they said about Wanda just now. He had already become one with these pirates, so Han Yu didn't need to introduce him. "Come on, let's cheer up to celebrate Ace's escape." Ah! Chapter 15 Peter Parker. It was already midnight, and on the super big pirate ship of the Whitebeard pirates, the large group of pirates were still having fun. They didn't think there was too much of the beer mug that was bigger than their face, and they drank more than half of it in one gulp. As soon as the beer was ingested, they saw a very faint golden light emanating from their bodies, which quickly merged into their bodies. This is Han Yu's beer with celestial beans. It can heal injuries without affecting the taste. Han Yu only used 2 celestial beans for the banquet of thousands of people, otherwise he would be full if he just ate one. Can eat other things too. On the quiet mast, Wanda was standing there alone blowing the wind. Han Yu got on the mast, took out a coat from the system storage, and put it on Wanda. "Why don't you go down and play together? Pietro is having a great time down there." Han Yu looked on the deck, and Kuei Yin was using his superpower to play games with everyone. This speed exceeded their cognition, which made the pirates amazed while having fun. "I want to be alone for a while, it's too noisy down there for me." Wanda shrank into the coat, and the warmth inside made her feel relieved. Han Yu asked, "What's wrong with you? Wanda looked dazed, and said, "A few days ago, I was a wanderer with Pietro, living a life of ups and downs, and I didn't even know what I was living for. I didn't expect that now, I would become a god who can decide the lives of others." Han Yu nodded, and then said, "To be honest, I know that you brothers and sisters have some grievances with Tony Stark. I am not the person involved, and I don't want to stand on the moral high ground. I just want to say that those things did not happen. For what he meant, and now he is fighting for peace, for the Earth." Wanda was surprised that Han Yu would mention Iron Man Tony Stark. She was silent for a while, and said, "Maybe I can kill him casually, right?" Han Yu said, "As long as you want, you can do it, but I don't want you to become like that." Wanda sighed and thought for a while before saying, "If Stark continues to manufacture arms for those people to fight wars, maybe I will kill him, but seeing him rushing into space with a nuclear bomb for the Earth, although I don't want to forgive him, but I don't have any prejudice against him, so be it. I'm glad you figured it out." Han Yu only spoke halfway, when Wanda suddenly leaned over and hugged Han Yu's arms. Han Yu was stunned for a moment, sniffing the faint fragrance from Wanda's hair, said nothing and hugged her gently. Wanda raised her head to look at Han Yu in front of her, her eyes were tender, and she kissed him lightly under the latter's dazed gaze. The two returned to the grocery store and Han Yu's room in an instant. Then, a sleepless night. At noon the next day, the sun shone through the window into the room, and Han Yu's long eyelashes trembled, and Han Yu slowly opened his eyes. Han Yu yawned and sat up, and found that Wanda was lying beside him, with her fragrant shoulders outside, and a ray of sunlight was shining on Wanda's fair face, which looked very beautiful. "Last night, Han Yu suddenly recalled what happened last night and the madness at that time, so he couldn't help but smile. After tucking the quilt for Wanda, he got out of bed, got dressed, and planned to make lunch. As soon as he walked out of the room and planned to go downstairs, he found Kuei Yan lying on the floor of the hall in the shape of Big, with several wine jars beside him. "Pietro, you didn't sleep here all night, did you?" Han Yu stepped forward and patted Kuei Yan's face. The latter turned over and continued to sleep without opening his eyes, muttering, "Drink, keep drinking. Whoever doesn't drink is the grandson. This must be how much you drink." Han Yu shook his head helplessly, used the energy of the green light to carry him back to his room, and then went downstairs to cook. Judging by Kuei Yan's appearance, he will definitely not be able to wake up for a while, so Han Yu only did his and Wanda's share. Just as Han Yu finished his lunch and was about to take it out, he felt something soft on his back, and his gentle voice rang in his ears at this moment. "You woke up so early." The sound made Han Yu's body go numb, and when he turned around, it was Wanda. At this time, she was wearing a white shirt by Han Yu, which was a little too big for her, making her figure even smaller, and the long hair casually draped over her shoulders was even more feminine. "Have some lunch, it's already noon." Looking at Wanda's tender eyes, as if he could sink himself into them and couldn't get out, Han Yu hurriedly avoided her eyes and went out with his lunch. Seeing Han Yu's somewhat embarrassed figure, Wanda pursed her ruddy lips and smiled a little nicely. Now she suddenly felt that Han Yu was not so mysterious. At least in this respect, he still looks like a little boy. After lunch, Wanda took the initiative to take the dishes and chopsticks to wash the dishes, and said, "Okay, let me do these. You worked hard last night, go and have a rest." Han Yu smiled helplessly, "Can you stop flirting, don't you know that you look good?" Just when Han Yu was planning to lie down with Geu on the sofa in the lobby, he heard a soft wind chime coming from his ear. As mentioned earlier, the sound of the wind chime depends on the strength of the person who comes. The stronger the strength, the faster the wind chime shakes. But now, listening to the speed at which the wind chimes sway, it is estimated that the strength of the comer will not be that strong. "Han, are you there?" In the grocery store on the first floor, a 15 or 16-year-old boy stood in front of the counter and kept calling Han Yu's name to the door. "Here we come, why are you shouting so urgently?" Han Yu walked down, saw the young man in front of him, frowned, and said, "Parker, what are you doing here if you don't go to school at this point?" The person who came was the well-known Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Of course, the everyone knows here refers to Han Yu's previous life, and the current little spider is just an ordinary high school student. Han Yu also loved Spider-Man a lot in his previous life. After helping him come to this world, he helped Peter Parker by chance, and the latter became Han Yu's first friend in this world. Seeing Han Yu coming down, Peter Parker ran to the door of the grocery store, and after confirming that no one would come in, he hurried to Han Yu and said excitedly. It's not important, Han, let me show you something amazing. Before Han Yu could speak, Peter Parker looked around in the store, ran to a box next to him, hugged the box with both hands, and with a little effort, he lifted the box up. Han Yu's pupils shrank suddenly. Others don't know which box is heavy, so how can he not know? That box contained the ore that Han Yu used to forge weapons, which weighed 400 kilograms. For ordinary people, it is impossible to lift a thing of 400 kilograms, let alone Peter Parker, such a 15-year-old boy who weighs 100 kilograms, wants to lift it. Matter. The only explanation is that he was bitten by a mutated spider. Han Yu asked, "What's the matter with you?" Peter Parker put down the ore box, came to Han Yu excitedly, and said, "It's amazing, it's strange to say, I went to visit Osborne with the school a few days ago, that Osborne, Norman Osborne you know, he's—" I know, get to the point." Han Yu brought back the topic of Peter Parker. This kid was prone to wander off when he was talking, and he was distracted from one topic while he was talking, and then he could talk for an hour. "Oh yes, I almost got off topic," Peter Parker smiled awkwardly, and continued to talk about the matter. "At that time we were visiting a laboratory about animal experiments. It seemed that a spider fell from the ceiling and bit me on the neck after taking a sip. The next day I found that my strength, speed and responsiveness had improved beyond ordinary people." After hearing what Peter Parker said, Han Yu was sure that the little spider in the classic Spider-Man trilogy in his previous life also gained superpowers in this way. "Who else did you tell about this?" Han Yu said seriously. "Just you, I didn't even tell my classmates and Aunt May." Peter Parker said that in his opinion, the only boss in this grocery store who is a few years older than himself can be trusted by him. What he said to his classmates were all young people, and it might spread throughout the campus someday. Peter Parker didn't want to be caught doing experiments by himself. Chapter 16. Han Yu said seriously, "Well, it's good not to tell too many people. You'd better keep this matter in your stomach. If too many people know it, it will be dangerous to you and your family and friends." Peter Parker was frightened by his seriousness, and he repeatedly agreed. In order not to make the atmosphere so serious, Peter Parker talked to Barabara again, but Han Yu didn't listen to these words, because he was caught by a sentence that suddenly sounded in his mind. Fascinated. Ding, the task is triggered, make a Spider-Man suit. The corner of Han Yu's mouth twitched slightly. The task issued by the system was too simple. This kind of missions without main or extra prefixes are very common missions, with a higher chance of being triggered. And the rewards obtained are basically 3 to 5 upgrade points. If you want to get good things, unless you are the Emperor of Europe, it's not difficult to make a spider suit. I remember the Spider-Man suit from the previous life clearly, but should I help him? Han Yu stared at the eloquent young man in front of him, and fell into deep thought. Making a suit is simple, but the one made by Han Yu must not be ordinary. If the holder can't use it properly, it will be very difficult for him and everyone. Is a disaster. Parker, let me interrupt you. Han Yu made a stop gesture and asked him, "You have superpowers, what are you going to do?" Han Yu's question made Peter Parker quiet down. What to do? This is indeed a problem. Burning, killing, looting? Didn't Peter Parker have the idea to be the sports star in the school? He felt that this was too much talent. After thinking for a moment, Peter Parker looked straight into Han Yu's eyes and said, "I want to fight crime, and I want to help others." His answer made Han Yu's eyes light up slightly, and he asked, "Why?" Peter Parker was silent for a while, and said, "Because, when you have the ability but don't act, then the bad things that happen later are your responsibility." What he said made Han Yu very satisfied. As a 16-year-old boy, it is already very good to have this kind of awareness, and it is worth asking Han Yu to make a battle suit for him. Han Yu said, "Then are you ready? Being a superhero is not as easy as you imagined. The things you have to face are far beyond your imagination, and may even affect your life." Peter Parker said, "If I don't do it, it will be even more difficult for me." "Very good, boy, you have moved me, come with me." Where are you going?" Because it was on the first floor, outsiders could still come in, and it was not good for strangers to know about such things, so Han Yu took him to a room. Fingers fumbled on the wall next to it for a while before reaching the switch. Once the lights were switched on, illuminating the room, something inside made Peter Parker's eyes widen. This room is surprisingly large, about 50 to 60 square meters. There are numerous weapons hanging on the wall, which are dizzying. This is Han Yu's workshop, which is specially used for forging various weapons and equipment. What is this? In the center of the room, there is a huge metal furnace pit. Peter Parker saw the thing that looked like a furnace pit, and curiously leaned over it. This furnace pit is wide enough that 2 adults can't touch it, and it's about a meter high. It looks like a super high-tech injector or something. Han Yu said naturally, this is a planetary injector. I usually use it to forge things. Planet ejector. Peter Parker's hair stood on end when he heard that. He looked at Han Yu with a strange gaze, and said, Han, don't you just go crazy watching science fiction movies. It's no wonder that Peter Parker would have such a reaction, let alone him. Even if the Avengers were here, they would think that Han Yu had lost his mind when he heard this. You'd better back off a little bit. Han Yu smiled, walked to the operating table standing aside and pressed a few times. The planetary injector made several empty loud noises, and immediately, a very thick blue flame erupted from the planetary injector out. The powerful flame column seems to be able to instantly vaporize people. And there is a faint layer of energy around the flame to surround the flame, so that the flame column will not be burned to the side. Although there is something to isolate the flames, it still makes Peter Parker sweat profusely, which shows whether the planetary injector is real or not. Seeing Peter Parker's sweaty face in surprise, Han Yu turned off the planetary injector and said, this is only 1% of the energy. I usually use 40% of the energy to create things. You are too scary. Peter Parker touched his forehead, only to realize that he was already sweating profusely. On the other hand, Han Yu was still refreshed and didn't sweat at all. Han, what on earth are you selling? I always thought it was just an ordinary grocery store. You are not a high-tech dealer, are you? We can't be so confused. If the Avengers know if you do this, you will definitely be arrested. Peter Parker's anxious look made Han Yu dumbfounded. If you say high-tech dealers, that's right, but I didn't steal them. These things are all mine. What you said just now moved me, so I plan to make you a battlesuit. You can't just go out and save people in your pajamas. Peter Parker blushed a little, but when he heard that Han Yu was going to help him make a battlesuit, he was more excited. A battlesuit? Really, it won't be very expensive, it's too expensive and I can't afford it. Haha, it's free. As he said that, Han Yu took a measuring tape to help Peter Parker measure his height and waist, and then began to cut the fabric. Oh, by the way, I also have some ideas about the battlesuit. Peter Parker put down the school bag he had been carrying, took out a booklet from it and handed it to Han Yu. When he opened it, there were design drawings of several sets of clothes inside, which made Han Yu sigh. Although these design drawings were still very rough and simple, they already had the prototype of the spider battlesuit in Han Yu's memory. Seeing Han Yu looking at the sketch he drew so seriously, Peter Parker felt a little embarrassed, and quickly said, I'm just showing you that you can still do what you want, and I can do it. Han Yu smiled and said, it's okay, I think your idea is very good, and I plan to adopt your design. The feeling of being recognized by others is the most comfortable person. Peter Parker grinned happily. Watching Han Yu making clothes, he gradually joined in the manufacturing. I have to say that Peter Parker's IQ is really high. He didn't slow down Han Yu's progress, but his participation made the production of the suit faster. Peter Parker said, regarding the production of the spider silk launcher, you can press it with your middle finger and ring finger in the palm of your hand, which is also convenient for me to grasp. Han Yu smiled and said, okay, listen to you. While Peter Parker didn't pay attention to designing the battlesuit, Han Yu tapped a few times in mid-air, took out a palm-sized scroll, and patted it lightly on the spider suit, and the scroll was integrated into the suit. The same action, Han Yu repeated 3 times. These 3 one-time Shenluo Tianzhengs should be used as a life-saving talisman for Parker. The 3 life and death experiences should allow him to grow. Because they are items consumed in system tasks, these 3 one-time Shenluo Tianzhengs were not counted in Han Yu's account. He didn't tell Peter Parker about the Shenluo Tianzheng that could save his life, because he didn't want Peter Parker to feel confident, which wasn't easy for him to grow up. Young eaglets are not made to soar in a greenhouse. During the period, Wanda went downstairs to take a look. Seeing that Han Yu was busy with a young man, he didn't know what he was doing, so he didn't bother them. I just went upstairs quietly and cut some fruit, quietly put it in the room, and then went upstairs. The attentive Peter Parker didn't notice, but Han Yu saw it, and seeing Wanda being so considerate, he couldn't help showing a smile. Time passed quickly, and at dusk and sunset, the two of them finished the spider suit. In the beginning, it was Han Yu who took the lead, but later Peter Parker worked harder and used him for most of the suit ideas, but the finished product is still very good, similar to the spider suit Han Yu remembered. The battle suit is mainly made of red and blue cloth, the feet, hands, chest and mask are all red cloth, while the blue is on the side waist and thighs, and a black spider icon is placed on the chest. For Han Yu, this suit is so memorable, it can be said to be his youth, and it is the most classic Spider-Man suit. Chapter 17, What a Dutiful Son. He also hopes that Peter Parker can wear this suit and become the real Spider-Man. This is really, so handsome. Looking at the finished spider suit, Peter Parker couldn't help but admire. Okay, you can keep this suit well. It's time for dinner. I'm going out to eat. Do you want to go? If Han Yu hadn't mentioned the time, Peter Parker wouldn't have noticed that it was already 6 p.m. After thinking about it, he called Aunt May at home and said that there was an event at school tonight and he wouldn't go home for dinner. After getting the consent of the other party, he happily put away the spider suit, as happy as a child who just bought a new toy. Han Yu walked out of the room and shouted upstairs, "Wanda, Pietro, go to dinner." "Hey, is there anyone else living upstairs?" Peter Parker was a little curious. When he came here before, Han Yu lived alone. Han Yu replied, "Well, it's my girlfriend and her brother." A response came from upstairs, and after 10 minutes, only Wanda came down. Han Yu asked, "Where's Pietro?" "Still sleeping." Wanda shook her head helplessly, and said, "He's awake, but he said he's going to play with Ace, so he won't go to dinner with us." This was beyond Han Yu's expectation. He didn't expect their relationship to be so good. "Okay, then the three of us will eat." Before leaving, Han Yu constructed a green lantern ring and sent it to Kuei Yin through the grocery store system. On the one hand, it allows him to have more self-protection capabilities, and on the other hand, it can play the role of communication. Han Yu drove out a car behind the grocery store. Peter Parker widened his eyes when he saw the car, and said, "Han, your car is at least tens of millions of dollars." He had seen this car on the internet. It was at least in the top 50 on the global luxury car list, and the price was tens of millions of dollars. He didn't expect Han Yu to drive it. Han Yu smiled and said, "Do you like it? If you like it, I'll give you one when you grow up." For Han Yu, he could already regard money as dung, and he could earn tens of billions by just selling a green light ring. His energy equipment, any low-end one, can be sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. A car worth tens of millions of dollars, Han Yu will not have a problem driving one and throwing one away. This is still unnecessary. Peter Parker really didn't dare to take it. He could only look at luxury cars of this level on the internet for the rest of his life. Han Yu said he would give him a gift, but he didn't dare to take it. What kind of person has what kind of car? Too good is not a good thing. Han Yu didn't care either, just smiled and left. On the way, Wanda was basically chatting with Peter Parker. This girl was very curious about high school and kept asking him about high school. And Han Yu was driving the car, thinking about the completed tasks. Close the task, keyword, spider suit. The system is settling, the settlement is complete. Obtain props, emotional potion, storm cry *3, effect, can make the specified character cry for 10 minutes, any method can stop the crying time. Hearing the reward, Han Yu almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. What is it, mood potion? This is the first time Han Yu has obtained such a prop. Although Han Yu didn't think he would get any good rewards, he never thought about such an outrageous item. Storm crying potion, is it used to make others cry? Serious people like to watch others cry. Han Yu rolled his eyes, and waited until he had a chance to use it. 10 minutes later, Han Yu brought Wanda and them to the hotel. "Come here to eat, it's expensive." Peter Parker was obviously taken aback when he saw the restaurant here. In his impression, the consumption of this restaurant was not low, with an average per capita of tens of thousands of dollars. "Do you think I'm short of this money?" Han Yu patted his car with a smile, and said that the consumption of this restaurant is expensive for a student party like Peter Parker, but for Han Yu, it is just that, after all, he is now a billionaire. The money that can be used at hand is not even comparable to some rich people who have been on the rich list for a long time. That's right, then I'm not going to be polite, I also want to experience the food of this restaurant today. There was a boss treat, and Peter Parker stopped talking. After the other party said so, if he wanted to be hypocritical, he really had no friends. After handing over the car to the waiter at the restaurant, the three of Hanyu walked in, and Hanyu was responsible for fixing the location. Fortunately, it was still a working day, so there were not many people in the restaurant. Hey, isn't this insignificant Parker? Parker, is the door of this restaurant too big for you to sneak in? The ear-piercing voice came from behind Hanyu and the three of them. Turning around, several young men and women who were about the same age as Peter Parker walked towards them. This guy is Flash Thompson, the star of our school football team, and he's always bullying me. Peter Parker said angrily, his voice was very low, as if he was afraid of being heard by Flash and the others. His eyes stayed on a girl beside Flash, but then moved away immediately. Wanda had no idea, but frowned and felt that these children were very rude. Hanyu noticed the small expression on Peter Parker's face, and joked, Parker, I remember you said that you like a girl, who is the girlfriend of the star of your school's football team. Could it be the one next to him? Hearing this, Wanda raised her eyebrows, patted Peter Parker on the shoulder, and jokingly said, Hey, you're still young, so you have the awareness to steal love with a knife. No, there is no slashing for love, it's just a simple liking, and I didn't do anything to that girl. Peter Parker was blushed by what Hanyu and the others said, and quickly explained, but no matter how he explained, all he got was Hanyu and Wanda's squinting smiles, so he gave up explaining. The darker it is. Seeing Peter Parker ignoring himself and talking to the people around him, Flash frowned, planning to go over and humiliate Peter Parker even more. When he saw Wanda beside him, there was a look of surprise in his eyes. Wanda especially likes red. When she came out today, she also wore a long red leather jacket with a pair of black trousers. She obviously looks pure and innocent, but there is a hint of charm in her eyes. This kind of temperament is not comparable to those young girls around Flash. Compared with Wanda, they are far worse. Not only Flash showed this expression, but also the boys around him, all of whom were attracted by Wanda. But Wanda ignored them, didn't even look at them, and just talked to Hanyu and Peter Parker, as if the group of people standing next to her didn't exist. Hey, Parker, I don't want to see you here, do you know where this is? Let me tell you, this is opened by a friend of my dad's, I come here often, let me tell you, woo. Before Flash could finish his sentence, he felt a strange feeling in his tear glands. Immediately afterwards, he showed everyone what it means to tears like rain. Okay. It seems that this classmate is very moved that his father can give him such a life, he is really a filial son. Hanyu applauded directly, and the people around Flash all looked at him blankly and subconsciously followed suit. What's going on? I just cry when I say it, and I can't cry like this when I'm moved. Flash, well, we know you're touched, don't cry. Someone persuaded Flash, and there were already people gathered around because of Flash's crying. They were all high school students, who could bear this kind of embarrassment. Flash, I didn't mean to cry. Flash tugged at the people around him, trying to explain that he didn't want to cry at all, but the tears couldn't be held back. Originally, he was holding on to the feeling that he was going to stop, but this made him cry even harder. People who didn't know why thought he was crying so hard because he thought about what happened to his father. The hotel manager heard that someone was crying in the lobby and couldn't stop it, so he hurried over. When he first met Flash, the second-generation ancestor, he thought it was because of a service problem. After training the waiter a few words, the latter also said that it had nothing to do with me, and he suddenly cried. They also heard that they must be very moved by his father for giving him such a good life. Flash had already expected how long he would be laughed at if this incident was reported back to the campus. Chapter 18 A very cool book. Han, did you do what happened just now? Peter Parker asked. After thinking about it, he didn't think that a normal person would cry like that in a normal situation, and his father probably wouldn't cry like that after his death. Didn't you say that he often bullies you? After today, he should have no face to go to school. Hanyu didn't deny it, but smiled. In fact, he was also very happy. Flash's crying was because Hanyu used the storm weeping potion. At first he thought it was just a small cry, but he didn't expect it to be literally like a storm cry. This prop is really interesting, it would be nice to have a few more. Thinking of this in Han Yu's mind, the evil thoughts in his heart suddenly increased. It would be interesting if it was applied to some serious villains. Thinking of the scene just now, Wanda also burst out laughing. It was the first time in her life that she saw someone cry like this. If it was used on good or normal people, she might have some opinions. But when it was used on a campus bully like Flash, Wanda just wanted to laugh. With Flash at the beginning, Peter Parker told Han Yu a lot of campus stories, and Han Yu and Wanda also listened with gusto while they were eating. One has gone to high school, but not abroad, and the other has never been to high school and is very curious about high school life. It is very interesting to listen to Peter Parker's words. While eating well, a bank next to the hotel suddenly heard an explosion, and the aftermath of the explosion shattered a lot of glass in the hotel. Han Yu and the others were sitting by the window. When the explosion came, Han Yu used his mental power to bounce away the glass fragments that exploded from the explosion. Looking back, it was a group of robbers who were robbing the ATM machine next to the bank. A bomb came from nowhere and exploded the ATM machine, taking money from it. Why, want to try? Seeing the expression on Peter Parker's face, Han Yu was not afraid, but excited, so he knew what Peter Parker was thinking. Can I go? Although it was his freedom, Peter Parker still subconsciously asked Han Yu for instructions. He already regarded Han Yu as a brother, so when the other party was around, he would subconsciously ask Han Yu for his opinion. Han Yu smiled and said, "Of course, be careful. This is just a small ATM machine robbery, and this level of robbery can still give Peter Parker a practice." After getting Han Yu's consent, Peter Parker let out a low cry of joy, quickly grabbed the backpack placed beside him and ran to the toilet. After a while, he saw a red figure hanging from a white thread. There. Good night, gentlemen, this post-dinner exercise option is not very good. The first thing Peter Parker did after he swung in was not to sanction the gangsters, but just to chatter. The gangsters looked at each other, and in the next second, they directly chose to pull out their pistols and aimed at Peter Parker in unison. Peter Parker suddenly became aroused, and his body reacted quickly. A spider web shot at the hand of one of the gangsters holding a gun. With a pull, his palm hit the face of the person around him fiercely. The gangster on the far side was stunned for a moment because of Peter Parker's fighting style. When he came back to his senses, there was already a red fist in front of him that was constantly expanding. This punch forcefully knocked down a man who seemed to weigh 80 kilograms, fell to the ground unconscious, and the other two were tied up with spider silk by Peter Parker and tied to the ceiling. Peter Parker wanted to shout happily, but seeing more and more people gathered outside, he decided to run away first. "Wait, who are you?" someone in the crowd shouted. Peter Parker, who was about to launch the spider web to leave, thought for a few seconds before leaving a word and left with the spider web. "I'm Spider-Man." 5 minutes later. Looking at Peter Parker who came back to him with messy hair, Han Yu smiled and said, "Have you enjoyed it?" "Excellent." Peter Parker still had a look of excitement on his face. This was the first time he stopped a robbery after he had been ordinary for more than 10 years. Although it was only a small ATM robbery, Peter Parker's psychological fluctuations were also very large. "Okay, the meal is over, let's go home." Han Yu said that originally he planned to preach and warn Peter Parker not to indulge in this kind of excitement, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was unnecessary. "Anyway, I have already given him 3 life-saving safety bolts. For a young hero of his age, if he has not experienced life and death a few times, no amount of reasoning will help." After sending Peter Parker home, Wanda said to Han Yu on the way, "He's only a freshman in high school, isn't it too dangerous to give him this kind of equipment?" Just because she was outside, she didn't say it in person because of Peter Parker's face. Even she felt that it was a bit too dangerous for a boy in the first year of high school to get this kind of equipment. Han Yu said, "This is his own ability, it has nothing to do with my battle suit, and if I don't do it, he will do it sooner or later. I have put life-saving safety bolts in the suit 3 times. It is up to him if he can still be a superhero in the future. If he can't, these 3 life and death safety bolts are enough for him to calm down." After hearing Han Yu's words, Wanda nodded, and said no more. Peter Parker is also a superpower, and he is still a 16-year-old boy. If Han Yu didn't help him and let him run around by himself, the result might be even worse. Back downstairs from the grocery store, Han Yu saw that the lights in the hall on the 2nd floor were on. He pushed the door in and heard the noise from the second floor on the first floor. Going upstairs, I found that it turned out to be Fire Fist Ace and Phoenix Marco of the Whitebeard Pirates, and the three of them were playing poker together. Seeing Hanyu and Wanda who came back, they greeted each other naturally. Hanyu was not surprised, because he received a message from the green light ring during the meal earlier, and Kuei Yin asked if he could bring Ace and Marco to the grocery store. And Hanyu said that as long as he doesn't mess around, it's fine. Kuei Yin and the others played on the second floor, and Hanyu and Wanda went up to the third floor. While Wanda was taking a shower, Hanyu sat alone on the sofa in the lobby thinking about things. From Peter Parker, who was still an ordinary high school student, he learned about the daily activities of most of the students. In addition to going out to play, I usually stay at home and sleep. There are very few entertainment items in the Marvel world, not because there are no games, but because the original movie world has great limitations. Even though it has become a real world now, there are only some simple 2D games, both in terms of workmanship and plot, which are far behind Hanyu's previous life. If you bring over the games or novels and movies from your previous life, it will definitely become popular all over the world. Hanyu's eyes glowed. No matter how powerful he is still a young man in his early 20s. It is impossible to think about how to complete the task and what task to do all day long. There is no need, Hanyu's current strength is enough for him to be proud of the world. Thinking of this, Hanyu immediately ran into the room and turned on his computer. Why don't you try writing a novel first? There are no online novels in the literature of this world. How can the common people's usually suppressed hearts be opened? No wonder the crime rate is so high. Hanyu had written online novels in his previous life, but it was a pity that he was just a small fan, so it is not necessarily the case in this world. He opened a novel website, which is very large, and the main server is in Huaxia, called Tianxing Novel Network. Perhaps because of the development of science and technology, this novel website can actually link Chinese and foreign countries. On this website, you can see foreign novels translated into Chinese, and you can also see Chinese novels translated into foreign languages. Hanyu had to say in his heart that the motherland is awesome, no matter in the previous life or in this life, Huaxia is still leveraged. After familiarizing himself with the novel page, Hanyu skillfully registered the author and directly released his first urban novel in the Marvel world. The title of the novel is a very cool book. Chapter 19 Stark and Number 039, S Invitation. Meanwhile, Avengers Tower. The project to develop Ultron officially started and lasted for several days. During this period, Stark and Banner did not have 10 hours of rest in total. Banner looked at Stark who was constantly debugging the program, and thought, this is too hard work, I drank coffee like water these days. He couldn't help but said to Stark, let's stop here today. The development of Ultron has also stabilized. It's Saturday today. Will there be a party later? Hearing this, Stark turned his head. 3 days and 2 nights of work made his eyes bloodshot. He looked at the time and realized that several days had passed. He said, ah, yes, it's been so long, well, it's time to take a break, then go back and rest for a while, and go to the party later. Banner secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He was actually ready to work overtime. After all, it was just the two of them plus the artificial intelligence Jarvis. Jarvis, let me know what's going on. Stark told Jarvis, and then he followed Banner, took out his mobile phone while walking, and made a call. After the two left, in the dark studio, the green light ring and the mind gem scepter suddenly lit up, and silky green energy and yellow energy floated out from their respective places and merged together. A mechanical sound also intermittently sounded in the studio. To protect the world, peace, I am Ultron. Grocery store. Half an hour has passed since Hanyu published his first web article. In just half an hour, Shuangsha caused an uproar on tianxingnovel.com. Many people saw the name and saw that it was a little-known little author, and they planned to go in and make fun of it. After all, even those great gods can't say for sure that their novels are very cool. Just when they clicked on the novel, intending to scan a few lines to give the author a little face and start spraying, their eyes seemed to be glued to the novel in front of them, and they couldn't look away. By the time they came back to their senses, they had already read the 30,000 words. Fuck! What just happened? What's going on in this novel? It's too cool. Oh my god, I was trying to find some help, but it took more than 10 minutes, and my shit was stretched. God, Does the author still have the manuscript? Remind me to update it. It was so cool that I jumped up and gave my wife a slap, and now I'm still kneeling. In just half an hour, there were hundreds of comments under Book God, all kinds of cool, all kinds of reminders. Han Yu was very happy to see those comments, but he didn't expect such a big response. The novels in this world are still the kind of novels that are updated every week and only 1 or 2,000 words, with a little depth, and this novel suddenly appeared. Without explaining anything, the text is just to give them an uppercut in the face, which is so cool that they can't find it. This was written by Han Yu according to the whitest Xiao Beiwen in his previous life. Xiao Beiwen, just have a good time along the way. Although there will be a lot of bugs in the plot, you can't stand it. Compared with those traditional literature, it doesn't require you to think too much. As long as you read it, it will make you happy. It's that simple. In this fairy world of superheroes and supervillains flying around, maybe only games and novels can give people a chance to let off steam. Just when Han Yu was about to hold back hundreds of thousands of words, a phone call came. He took out his mobile phone and looked at it. Han Yu let out a light sigh, and it turned out to be Tony Stark's call. When Han Yu answered, Stark's hearty laughter came from the other side, which sounded like he had solved his problem. Han, we have a party tonight and I want to invite you. Are you free? Han Yu was taken aback for a moment, didn't expect that the other party's party could bring him so soon. Stark's desire to make friends with him is obvious. Han Yu smiled and said, of course, when and where? Stark replied, half an hour later, on the top floor of the Avengers building. I told the security guards that you come and tell them your name, and they will let you come up. Did the other party give orders before he agreed? Han Yu smiled and said, okay, I will definitely be there. After hanging up the phone, Han Yu looked back at the computer, and when he refreshed, there were more than 100 more comments. Han Yu didn't plan to continue posting, even if it was a cool article, there should be some suspense. Posting too much at once would be detrimental to the development of this book. It just so happens that the last chapter of the 30,000 word book is stuck before a little cool point, and those readers are anxious, so that the cool book will become more popular. He planned to go to the party Stark said first. The Avengers building, the top floor, a group of Avengers formed a circle, talking about something. Tony, this is a private party. Isn't it good that you invite a stranger? It was Thor, the god of thunder, who was very upset when he heard Stark say that he would introduce a powerful person to them before the party. Because when Stark said this, there was a little respect in his tone, and this way of speaking made Thor a little uncomfortable. In his opinion, no matter how strong a person on Earth is, he is still a person on Earth. He is a god from Asgard, Thor. Hawkeye said, haha, Saul, if you don't wait for him to come, you can fight with him and see who is stronger and who is weaker. That's a guest invited by Stark himself. No matter who it is, for Stark's sake, you should give him some face. Captain America rolled his eyes at the Hawkeye Clint, who didn't think it was a big deal, and said. Except for Captain America, the vast majority of people did not speak, only Banner remained silent. He knew who this person was, the guy who gave the green light ring to Stark. Banner was also very curious. After developing Ultron with Stark in the past few days, he felt more and more terrifying the energy contained in the green light ring. People who can freely give this level of energy rings must be easy to mess with, because with the current technology of the Earth, such equipment is absolutely impossible. While a few people were talking and laughing, the elevator door sounded ding, and a pair of young men and women came out of it. It was Han Yu and Wanda. When Han Yu walked out of the elevator door, he couldn't help but let out a soft wow when he saw the guests at the banquet. At the banquet organized by Tony Stark, the people who came were all the celebrities in the society. Everyone was a super celebrity who could see it on the news and could name it with one bite. Han, I'm so glad you can come here. Stark, who was talking to others, saw Han Yu coming out of the elevator, and immediately said goodbye to him with a smile, and went up to Han Yu. Han Yu shook hands with him. Seeing the relaxed look on his face, it should be that the progress of the research on Ultron is not bad, so he said with a smile, Mr. Stark personally invited, how dare you not come? As he said that, Stark turned his eyes and saw Wanda holding Han Yu's arm. He was obviously taken aback because he had seen this girl before. During the operation in Sokovia a few days ago, why did this girl, one of the superpower twins, follow Han Yu? Who is this? Seeing Wanda holding Han Yu's arm, Stark didn't dare to ask too clearly, so he asked Han Yu tentatively. Seeing Stark's somewhat cautious expression, Han Yu was not surprised, because the Avengers went to a place called Sokovia in an operation a few days ago, where they destroyed an enemy den. That's where you got the Mind Stone Scepter. It was also on that day that Wanda and Kuei Yan ran out and were found by Han Yu. Introduce, this is Wanda, my girlfriend. Han Yu was very heavy on the last three words girlfriend, and Stark was not a fool, so he immediately understood what he meant. Stark didn't intend to ask too much. Although the scene where the two met for the first time was not good, Stark didn't have a deep hatred with her. Come on, let me introduce some friends to you. Seeing that it was brought by Han Yu, Stark didn't say much, and directly led Han Yu and the two into the depths. Along the way, many people were a little surprised to see Han Yu walking side by side with Stark. It was rare to see Stark have such a good attitude towards anyone. And Han Yu's appearance has attracted the attention of many beauties. The facial features of Asians are arranged on Han Yu's face, making people's eyes shine. The temperament between the gestures of hands and feet does not look like that of a young man in his 20s. They have never seen an Asian with perfect temperament and appearance. Chapter 20 Let and number 039, SC Who Won and number 039, T-Lift. Did you see that little boy? He looks really good. Yes, and he is so close to Mr. Stark. I don't know which famous family he is a disciple of. The girl next to him is also very good looking. Damn, has she been preempted? Sister, don't you have a crush on him? Aren't you too? Hearing those beauties with bumpy figures talking about Han Yu, Stark thought that Han Yu must have never experienced such a scene, and was about to turn his head to see his embarrassing appearance and tease him, but saw Han Yu's face, always maintaining a faint smile. Even if a beautiful woman came forward to strike up a conversation, he would always refuse with a smile, and even Stark used him as a shield. Stark couldn't laugh or cry, and said in his heart, this guy is amazing, and he can still be so calm. This kind of mentality is not something that a young man in his 20s can have. I am more and more interested in him. Within a short distance of 20 steps, more than 3 beauties with outstanding figures and looks left Han Yu with their contact information. Looking at Stark, they felt a little jealous, and couldn't help joking. Han, I didn't say a word. It seems that you are already a star tonight. You are very lucky. How many pairs of eyes are staring at you? Han Yu said, where, if I hadn't stood beside me with Mr. Stark, I wouldn't have received such treatment. Han Yu's way of speaking made Stark feel very comfortable. He patted him on the shoulder with a smile, and his view of the former in his heart was raised to another level. He was mysterious, powerful, and neither arrogant nor impatient. Such a young man, well worth Stark's befriending. In fact, how dare Han Yu talk to those beautiful women, but standing beside him is an ant who can destroy the world. Even if he didn't turn his head, Han Yu could feel Wanda's half-smiling gaze. When those beautiful women came to strike up a conversation, Wanda's little hand would quietly reach out to Han Yu's waist and squeeze it hard. Han Yu's face was bitter, and he thought, why are you pinching me? It's not my fault for being handsome, and I didn't say much to them. This short distance of 20 steps made Han Yu feel as slow as a long river. When Han Yu came to a place with few people and near the window, when he saw a group of people in front of him, his always smiling expression showed a slight change. The people here were actually members of the Avengers Alliance. Let me introduce, this is my friend, Han Yu, and his girlfriend, Wanda. Upon arriving here, Stark immediately introduced Han Yu and Wanda to them. Seeing Wanda, many people's expressions changed. Isn't this one of the twin superpowers who ran out from the enemy's Sokovia base that day? How could Stark fail to see that the expressions of these partners were not right, knowing that they had the same doubts as himself, but in order not to offend Han Yu, he still took the initiative to speak. Wanda had some misunderstandings with us before, but now she is Han Yu's girlfriend, so don't worry about the past. Hearing what Stark said, they put the matter aside for now. If there is trouble now, the scene will definitely not be good. Hawkeye Clinton, Captain America Steve, Natasha the Black Gown Woman, Dr. Hulk Banner, Thor, War Machine Rhodes, and Agent Hill from SHIELD, Stark actually brought me here knowing them. It seems that his intention to make friends with me is obvious. Han Yu glanced at the people sitting in front of him, thinking this way in his heart. But still greeted them with a smile on the surface. Hi everyone. Tony, is this the person you said you'd introduce us to? That's right, it doesn't look good. Thunder God swept Han Yu, and smiled disdainfully. He thought that Stark would bring a powerful person, but he didn't expect it to be just a young man. Indeed, Han Yu was probably the youngest present, in his early 20s. Hearing Lei Shen's words, Han Yu's face didn't fluctuate much, instead he smiled and looked directly at Lei Shen. If you judge a person by age, then Mr. Soul doesn't seem to be very mature at his age of 1,000 years. Oh! The members of the Avengers all raised their eyebrows, and they could see the surprise in each other's eyes when they looked at each other, which is a bit interesting. Looking at the upright young man standing in front of them, they really didn't expect Han Yu to dare to say that. Thor is the Prince of Asgard, born with arrogance. Even in the Avengers, his arrogance is ranked in the top 2, and someone can talk to him like this. In fact, it's pretty interesting. Boy, are you provoking me? Thor stood up and walked in front of Han Yu. He was 1.9 meters tall, while the latter was nearly 1.8 meters tall, so Thor looked at Han Yu in a condescending attitude. Han Yu smiled and said, "Isn't this exactly your logic, Mr. Saul? The boy you brought is a bit powerful." He faced Soul directly, but he didn't flinch at all. "How did you know him?" Captain America and Stark beside him looked at each other and said in a low voice. Seeing that the people he brought were not weaker than Thor, Stark also felt very honored, smiled and said nothing. Seeing that Stark didn't say anything, the US team stepped forward and said without asking, "Soul, stop messing around." Captain America stepped forward at this time to mediate between the two. Although there was nothing on the surface, he actually agreed with Han Yu's statement in his heart. With his age and his experience as a fighter in Asgard, Thor did not give them much lectures. Mr. Han was introduced by Tony himself. He is a distinguished guest. Let's get along happily and don't cause any conflicts. Okay, for Stark's sake, I won't argue with him. Seeing that Captain America gave him a step down, Thor let out a soft snort, then went down and went back to sit. It just so happened that we were talking about who could lift Thor's hammer. Sit by and watch. Stark made room for Han Yu to sit down. I'll come first. Hawkeye was the first one to come up, because he was the one who brought up this topic, and he had long wondered whether Thor's hammer was really as magical as he said. Hawkeye stepped forward to grab the handle of the hammer and pulled it hard, but it made him feel that what he was holding was not the handle of the hammer at all, but the connection to the ground. No matter how hard Hawkeye tried, the hammer didn't even move a millimeter, let alone lift it up. After trying Hawkeye for a while, he let go of his hand resentfully, touched his head in embarrassment, and said, "I really don't know how you did it." Stark complained, "Isn't it like a silent judgment that somehow removes your qualifications to be a god?" Everyone laughed. Hawkeye spread his hands, made a please gesture, and said, "Stark, you want to try too? Wow, there's a good show to watch." Stark raised his eyebrows, unbuttoned his clothes casually, and said, "I've never been afraid of any challenge, it's just a physical effect." After that, he stepped forward and put the leather ring that Thor usually used to swing the hammer on his right arm, and pulled it hard, just like when Hawkeye pulled it before. It didn't move at all. "Wait a minute." Stark took a steel arm, put it in his hand, and held the hammer handle again. Even though the steel arm had already activated the nozzle, and was pulling with the steel arm together with the war machine rods, the hammer didn't move at all. In the end, only when Captain America pulled his hands together, Thor's hammer moved imperceptibly. Only Thor, Han Yu, and Wanda noticed this subtle change. Everyone who was immersed in the joyful atmosphere didn't notice that a trace of solemnity flashed across Thor's face, but when he turned his head, it was quickly replaced by a smile. It seems that Captain America is indeed qualified to lift the hammer, but he hasn't made up his mind yet. The day he wakes up is the day he lifts the hammer. Han Yu remembered the scene in the Avengers No. 4 high school in his previous life, where the American team raised Thor's hammer. At that moment of despair, Captain America, who raised Thor's hammer, made the audience, no, it can be said that all the audience who were watching Avengers 4 were instantly ebullient, and many even shed tears. Rogers can lift a hammer. End of the chapter. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.